Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is a late show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. We're not going to comment, for those of you watching on the television, about the fact that Asher seems to have been fitted into a Christmas
look,
tree.
it goes at the same angle as the tree.
Right. And you've got a star on your head.
Yeah.
It's not even a Star of David. It's
racist.
It's a star of Christianity. Yeah. There we go. That's worked well.
King of the Jews.
There we go. Okay, but I just want to, before we have a bit of a laugh today, let's talk about this very, very serious story with myself, Asher Gould, and our guest co-host for this segment is Phil Dave, who is a broadcaster. But Phil, look, let's just go straight to it. The NHS are saying that people who have a cold should now wear masks on public transport. I think that they want to bring back lockdowns. I think they want to bring back the masks, and I think they want to bring back things like furloughs.
Yeah,
those things that have been a catastrophic disaster.
100%. We're hearing all of the same rhetoric we heard surrounding COVID when they started talking in the news today about all the extra beds that are needed in the NHS, warning of a crisis point, you know, critical moment in the NHS. Just for goodness sake.
Is it a psyops, Phil? Is that what it is?
The NHS is there for a job. Do it. If you can't cope with the number of people who go and use the NHS, then maybe you need to restructure and think who actually has the right to use the NHS.
But that's not the way it works. During COVID, it said protect the NHS, stay at home. I always say, I've said this loads of times, we used to be a country with the National Health Service. We're now a National Health Service with a country in order to provide its financing for it. We exist for the purposes of protecting and defending the National Health Service. There has been a complete flip.
And you know, a few years before COVID, I would have said you're mad to say that, but actually I can't argue with that. I think it's absolutely right. It does certainly feel like that. But anyway, no, as far as the whole idea of wearing masks, then good luck with that. Do me a favour. I mean, for goodness sake, I have to tell you, I am one heck of a germaphobe. I don't like it when someone...
Well, you don't like the Germans?
It's not quite what I mean. If someone is near me and starts coughing or anything like that, I would say that I personally, get away from me, what's wrong with you?
Do you actually do that? How do you do it? So if I was to cough on you, and say we're on the tube now, and I was to cough on you, okay. I won't do it in your direction, but I will do the noise. What would you do?
So there was one time, genuinely, this actually happened to me, where there was a chap, it was a really crowded train, and some odious cretin standing behind me decided to sneeze without holding his hand over his mouth, and I felt the draft on the back of my neck.
No.
But that's basically what a mask would do. So you'd rather he had a mask on than...
I'd rather he had a mask on, not me.
But I think, you know, it just makes it... But I don't like the control of it.
But
so
I'm considerate. I would sneeze into a sleeve or something.
I know,
but anyway, the point is that he didn't. He sneezed on the back of my neck. And I can't say exactly the language I used because it's not exactly what we call radio friendly. But no, I did not. I absolutely went nuts with him and sort of said, what the hell do you think I do? I look like a handkerchief to you. And but of course it just stood there gormless because Kelsopriest didn't speak a word of English. So
I have to say to you, that is one thing that I've noticed. I was getting the train the other day. I got off at one of the stations and somebody just finished a packet of crisps and just dropped it on the floor.
Oh, for goodness sake, I'd say that. Do you know, actually, the way around that is you say to them, excuse me, you dropped something.
No, I picked up and give it back to him, and it turned into a big argument, only one of which was in English. But but I do think part of the problem that we've got, and David Starkey talks about this a lot of the social norms in a country only exist if you understand the rules of the country. Now, if you go around London nowadays, what is it, a third of the people that you'll bump into, a quarter of the people that you'll bump into will be people who weren't born in the United Kingdom, who won't necessarily know what's accepted.
I think the majority of people in London weren't born in the UK, isn't it?
Look, I mean, honestly, I don't care if someone's not born in the UK, but I think you have a bit of an obligation to respect the country you've decided to call your home.
No, you don't. We've worked this out. It is racist for you to expect people in England to expect you to speak English.
Well,
it
in
is
that
racist.
case, I'm in big trouble because I expect that of them.
But that's what we've told people. We've said it's racist for you to try and come on the cultural...
I mean, these two guys, these horrible rapists, they were actually told that their defence to the judge was, oh, well, they come from a culture that, you know, they might do this to, you know what I mean? So it's accepted in the court.
That's not the culture here, and if you don't
that's
like
what they argued. That's what their
the
defence argues.
Yes,
and
it
they
is.
used that.
Yes, it is. I mean, I turn around and I say, look, we have said to people that that the culture of this country has no value whatsoever. The language and history of this country has no value other than to be negative. The statues and historical art are either stolen or venerate people who are evil. Every culture in the world is better than ours, and when you come to this country, if your next door neighbour expects you to speak English and understand the cultural norms of England, they are a racist and should be castigated as such. Now, people are going to listen who've never heard me before and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that." But I'm not expressing my own view.
Ladies and gentlemen, the woke Andre.
But that is the position.
Yeah. Well, it's the position for thankfully a very vocal minority, but it's not the point. That it's absolutely not the position. I think the vast
majority. That's the legal position.
Well, there are some people who would say that's legal position, but to be honest, I think if I'm most level-headed people would realise there's slightly more serious crimes than expecting someone to be gracious enough to speak the language of the country that they're lucky enough to call home.
Mm. And the language they're lucky enough to call home is not Britain. They always think. I mean, as I always say, do you know what we should do? It's Andre's big Christmas quiz. What is the #1 holiday destination of people who've claimed refugee status in the UK?
Cornwall.
The country that they claimed asylum from. So that is right. So effectively, most people, 70% of people who have fled a country on the basis that they would be killed if they ever went back, once they get the indefinite leave to remain, go on holiday to that country, 70% of them do it within 18 months.
But don't you know they're risking their lives terribly to go back?
That was the cruel irony of it, because the people who came from Sudan, a lot of them, what they did was they claimed their passports in the UK, got the council house, sublet it to British people, and then went back to Sudan. Now, to be fair, there was a war in Sudan. They did have to be evacuated in the end. But it was amazing to see the idea that British soldiers were running round trying to find people who had claimed asylum in Britain and then gone on holiday to Sudan straight afterwards.
I mean, I do have to say that clearly I am amongst that disgraceful bunch of people who do that, because I have been back to South Africa quite a few times. Now, having said that, I was born here, my ancestors are from South Africa, but at the same time, you know, does that make me part of that clan? And South Africa is indeed quite a dangerous place when it wants to be.
Especially for white farmers. Do you know anything about that?
It's very unfashionable to be that there.
What was it about Nelson Mandela you were so afraid of?
I don't think that's one for radio, but anyway.
That was a joke. I love that. Phil Dave's family loved South Africa. They were having a lovely time. Then, when apartheid finished, you left, didn't you? You left. The family all went.
To be fair to my family, they left in the 1970s, which was way before apartheid ended. But I would say one thing, that there's a lot of people don't realise, actually, sort of how detrimental the actions of Mandela have been to that country. Now, make no mistake, I will make this very, very clear, just in case anyone misunderstands me. Apartheid, abhorrent, should never have happened in the first place. Anyone with a quarter of a brain knows that. But, and this is a big but, you can't just turn around to a country that has, for decades, lived in a certain way, building resentment between two different types of people, and then suddenly sort of bring that proverbial wall down and say, OK, everyone go off and now live in perfect harmony. Guess what? It doesn't happen, and we've had the last 30 years of revenge.
And Zimbabwe as well.
Yeah,
same thing.
I met
Rhodesia.
Ian Smith, and let me tell you, Ian Smith was unbelievable. He said, if I'm such a dictator, why is it that Mugabe needs an armoured column to take him down the street, whereas I'm completely safe?
Was he from the black country?
He kept chopping. Yeah.
Look, to take it back to masks, which is where this whole conversation started, let me be very clear. If you were to tell me I need to wear a mask, then no.
No, but I bet you'd have a real nice, sophisticated one in Paisley with diamond. You know, you wouldn't have a run-of-the-mill mask,
I don't deny that I might have spent a little bit of money on
Have you
masks,
still got the old ones? Because it's nice to get them out again, isn't it?
Them,
I'll tell you what I had. I had a black mask.
You had an exemption badge, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I bought an exemption badge for 50p plus postage and packing. Brilliant. And just walked around with that. People would go, "Oh, you're not wearing a mask," and then I'd turn around with that and they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm such a bad person for saying it."
I wear the pregnant, let me sit down, pregnant, and it works every time. Yeah.
The best one I had was when I got my baseball cap, not bat, baseball cap.
Freudian slip. What did you do with that?
Baseball cap, glasses, and the mask.
Nice.
That was superb, walking around like that.
Yeah.
Criminals do that now.
So for me, I had at one stage I was wearing the hat, which I normally wear a fedora, if anyone doesn't know, but either fedora or a flat cap I'd wear because my head gets quite cold or burnt, one or the others. And I wore that. I think it must have been summer,
Are you allowed to say that? No.
What?
Well, don't say it. If you're worried about saying it, don't say it.
If you're moderating, then this must be really bad.
Has anyone ever made that joke in sunny weather? They go, I'll cream your head.
What?
Well, sun cream. They'll go, Phil, if you want out. It doesn't matter. There's a joke about putting sun cream on your head.
Right, okay. I guess you had to be there. But
Yeah, well, I just decided, I just pulled back from making the actual joke.
And that makes me really worried as to what the actual joke is.
right.
But anyway, all right, fine, I'll find out during the ad break. However, the point was is that sort of, at one stage I was walking around with a flat cap on, with sunglasses, it must have been sunny out, and the face mask. And then I was getting really frustrated with my phone because the facial recognition wasn't working. I couldn't understand why.
Well, now even the phones have a special mask mode that they can do it with,
Well,
with your
I have
mask
to tell
on.
you, do you know, that at the time of when COVID was rife and everyone was walking around with masks, Apple, got to give them credit where it's due, and I'm sorry, I would say other phones are available. Yeah, they are, but they didn't come up with this particular scheme, and it was superb. They said, and I quote, that we are going to release a new update for Apple Watch that will allow you to unlock your phone with a face mask on. But of course, if you didn't have an Apple Watch, guess what people did? They went out and they bought the Apple Watch because they thought, oh, this is great, we don't know how long we've got to wear a mask for, and we can now unlock our phones with the face mask on. I was one of those idiots who fell for it, bought a blooming watch that I hardly ever wear now, and of course, no surprise, about 6 months later, sure enough, they released an update that allowed the phone to release it.
Cunning Apple, as usual.
My niece came up with a brilliant idea. She said, I mean, I don't know how much use this is, but you know how you could unlock your phone with a fingerprint or a thumbprint?
Yeah.
She registered her big toe, which also worked.
It's a bit of a pain, though, isn't it?
Well, I suppose it's useful if you drop the phone, but then how would you like to start scrolling through messages?
I said to her, so you have to unlock your phone with your big toe. She said, yeah, after a few days it seemed quite impractical, really, to sort of take your shoes off.
I think that would make sense. This is a bit impractical.
It was
but
a little
novel, at least.
A little impractical. She said it was funny for the first few days, then she realised the error of her ways.
Oh, do you know what?
Okay, I know this is going to sound like a stupid thing, but 0344 499 1000, is anybody going to phone in and defend face mask wearing?
Look, I will say one thing. I think there are some people who have no idea or no concept of how germs are spread. And if that is the case, then I wouldn't be against the idea of those individuals wearing masks.
Toddlers, as an example.
Well, people who behave like toddlers. But you know what I'm talking about. There are people who, I mean, I've used...
Like the guy who sneezed on you.
I was say, we use public transport as an example already. Those who sort of go around and thinking it's remotely acceptable to go sneezing on somebody.
But a mask would
or
prevent
coughing. I've got it, yeah, but, well, within reason. But actually,
if it was mandatory.
Yeah, but the other thing as well is people who go around coughing and think it's okay not to cover their mouth. It's disgusting.
I know, but there's loads of people now here,
Like
because that's a
Carol
sort
Beer.
of British thing, isn't it? I mean, it's a European thing, and you know, you don't always. Some cultures don't bother with that.
Well, I don't care. They should do it
Computer
here.
says
Yeah, well, that's
no.
why the mask mandate, because it won't be in their muscle memory to do that. They just stand there and cough, don't they? And you know, people say about the virus, it's so small it gets through all the holes. It doesn't actually work like that, does it? It's in water droplets. There's millions of virus particles.
I can't believe this. Look,
I just don't like the control of the mask.
Look at these TV screens up here. Every other channel is running. Look at them having a go at Trump for attempting to stop drugs going into America, and these ones, that Sky is still on about Farage and Dulwich College.
Allegations, distressing. Yeah,
Oh, they're
He was
loving that.
13. Yeah, that's all they've got.
Well, as I've said a million and one times on several different outlets, I think that if all these cretins have got on Nigel Farage's throwaway comment he made when he was on the playground, I don't think he's got too much to worry about personally.
No, indeed. Well, look, Asher, do we want to go to a break and then talk about Afghans who are...
specifically about those two who have ended up in a youth prison because they're allegedly 17. 0344 499 1000. It's talk. It's Andre and Ash and Dave. Phil Dave.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk, and this is a bit of a distressing story. This is Andre Walker. Well, that's not.
It's a very distressing story.
That's not the distressing bit. This is Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Phil Dave. Sorry, when I come back from the break, I'm so excited about what we're about to talk about. Okay, two Afghan small boat migrants who raped a 15-year-old girl have been sent to a cushy prison that lets inmates play Xbox games and enjoy ensuite showers. I won't say the names of the guys because I can't pronounce them. Both apparently 17. Abducted the child from a park in Leamington Spa, brutally raping her as she cried and screamed for help. They're being held at the Warrington Young Offenders Institute in Staffordshire. No doubt they've all got beards and walking sticks.
They get
I don't even know what to say to it.
They get a desk, laptop, TV, DVD player that can use a gym 5 times a week, £20 a week, pocket money, taxpayers' cash, and they get films, I think film night every night, and they can also access 30 hours of education to help them when they get out and become citizens, including barrister training, painting, decorating. It's much nicer than the life they had. It sounds a bit like a hotel. They'll, of course, go, oh no, it's not, it's taking their liberty, but it's taking the myth, isn't it?
I hope it takes every single ounce of their liberty. It
but
just
put them
makes
in an
me
adult
sick.
prison. I mean, in the States, if you do adult crimes, you get adult punishments. We
I
should
just
do something.
And also they filmed it.
Well, the girl actually managed to get a phone, and the defence lawyer said, do not put this out, it will cause, riots and stuff like that, and they haven't put that out. So we haven't seen that, because we can imagine how... In fact, you can't. We need to see that sort of stuff, because that will really fix in the minds what's going on.
To be honest, the description alone makes me feel sick.
Yeah, but if you saw that, I mean, I know what you mean. I've seen the footage on the CCTV. I mean, just either side of her, and she's going, don't rape, and they're pulling her into the place. Just the most horrendous thing.
I think, just to be clear, we don't want to see the full... well, it would be illegal.
Well,
to
some
see
people,
anyway.
No, not the full thing, but I mean, they're
footage
hiding
of what
it from you. Maybe you're not feeling how you should feel, and if you did see that, you might, because if you just hear about someone was killed, but then you see it, it's horrendous.
It will undermine community relations if we are public about two Afghans raping a British girl.
Yeah,
I don't give a hoot about public relations.
It will undermine community
about
relations.
The fact that a 15-year-old is not actually
this country
safe
doesn't care.
She's never had
around.
sexual experience in her life. This is her first sexual... Her life's ruined. Their lives are made now.
I don't even know sort of how we're actually sort of supposed to talk about this without genuinely feeling sick. It's revolting.
Yeah.
What the heck is wrong with this country?
Is this not? I was watching last night about the 30th anniversary of Philip Lawrence, his murder. Remember, this, their high school head teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, and we're talking about knife crime not being common. Then the reality is, this is cultural enrichment, right? We always assume as a country that cultural enrichment is all positive. We have been culturally enriched from parts of the world where knife crime is much more common, where machete crime is much more common, where sex crime against women is much more common. And if you bring people from these cultures and say, hey, everything that you did in your country is marvellous and must be replicated in Britain, they will replicate it.
I mean, I don't even know how to sort of say it, because this shouldn't even be a discussion. It's just shocking. I mean, I cannot believe that we're talking about Britain this once, I think, and people say, don't romanticise it, it wasn't always great. It was. It used to be so much better than it is now. It used to be an amazing country. It's the reason why so many people came here, is because they thought it was amazing. And now we're talking about 15-year-olds who can't even go through the park without being jumped on and
But isn't that a price worth paying for cultural enrichment? That's what Owen Jones thinks.
I don't give a hoot what he thinks. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, if he thinks it, I think the opposite.
But if Owen Jones was sat here now and people like him, they would say, look, it's unfair to have a go at all Afghans. I mean, I know what...
I'm not having a go at all Afghans. I'm saying that I find it an abominable situation that a 15-year-old can't go through a park without being attacked.
But you would have...
I don't care what the nationality is. Don't do it.
Well, it doesn't matter, because proportionally they're 10 times more. I mean, some more than that. Likely to commit sex offence.
That may well be the case, but what I'm getting at is that I don't give a hoot what the nationality is. I'm being very careful with my language because I'm really angry about this. Whatever the nationality is, yes, fair enough, that might mean statistically that person might be more likely to do something because of their cultural background, but I'm saying I don't care the cultural background. I care about the fact that someone has actually thought that's in any way acceptable.
Remind me, when the Windermere children came from the concentration camps after the Second World War, were there signs up at Lake Windermere saying, don't rape local women?
Funnily enough, I strongly suspect there weren't.
And these children, bear in mind, had grown up in concentration camps. There must be something fundamentally rotten about Afghan culture, fundamentally rotten about the culture of many of these. I mean, I've been told that something like 95% of Egyptian women have been groped in the street. Right, that is a pretty. So let's just call it all of them.
I know in India they have that eve teasing, which is a common. Obviously, they don't have very good women's rights in India, and they're sexually assaulted all the time. And
I think it's very simple. We could sort of analyse every single country around the world that has questionable cultural habits, and we could say, you know, oh, isn't that terrible? What they do in that country, as far as I'm concerned, is up to them. The fact is, we have laws in this country that are founded on some pretty strong values that are heavily based and wed in Christianity, that sort of has a very strict and very clear view about how people should behave. And if people don't like it,
they won't. That's not their culture. They don't care about Christian. Yeah, but they don't care either. So we can't really afford to let them in.
But exactly my point. If they don't care about the culture of this country, don't let them live here.
They won't come here like. I mean, I don't know about your relatives from the war. My grandmother was from Vienna, and when people ask where she was from, she'd say in a very strong Viennese accent, "I'm British." You know what I mean? They wanted to be British when you came here, whereas now people come and they want their own nationality.
I mean, my family's a bit tricky because we started off life in, well, my mum's side of the family, I think, you go back far enough, started off life in Poland. Go back far enough, my father's side of the family, they started off, I think, in either Belarus or Russia, then moved to South Africa and then came to the UK. So they've come.
Yeah, mine's got 1600s family from Britain. It's got Polish and it's got the Viennese. But you must have had some in the Second World War.
I think there's another point that we've discussed on this programme before, when people go, well, there was always immigration into Britain. And you go, yeah, but there weren't many Jews that arrived. There weren't many Huguenots.
No,
what was it?
About 50,000 over the whole time, not 50,000 every couple of months.
Not 50,000 a day or whatever.
50,000 a month.
You know, but I'm exaggerating, obviously. But my point
it is about 50,000 a month.
I'll tell you the most despicable thing that you hear repeated. No, I'm sorry, you like it or you don't. British people built Britain. Oh, it was all built by immigrants. No, it simply wasn't.
No. I think the Romans.
The Industrial Revolution, we were 99%.
As I've said before, at the signing of the Magna Carta, how many people from Swaziland were present? The building of St. Paul's Cathedral, the population of Lesotho in the United Kingdom was incredibly low.
What does it mean for someone to be British? And as far as I'm concerned, British means that you sort of come to this country and adopt the cultures that have been a firm fixture of the fabric of our society for a great number of centuries. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are incapable of doing that, you should not be lucky enough to call Britain your home.
I think the remarkable hypocrisy of a group of people saying, we are angry with what the Israelis have done in Palestine. These are settlers abusing. These are settlers abusing the rights of the locals. No, listen, British people, abolish your Armistice Sunday so we can all walk down Horse Guards Parade and indeed down Whitehall instead of you, because our views are more important. You go, who's the settler? I wonder.
It's amazing how they didn't really seem to mind how many local Jews from various countries in the Middle East have been expelled over the years. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, if they're talking about colonialism and expelling various people, well, they don't seem to whinge too much about that.
You try and be anything other than Muslim in some of those, well, most of the countries around there. You have apartheid in Mecca. You can't even go to Mecca, I don't think, if you're not Muslim.
You can't.
So I mean,
we can't go to most. You can't go to.
And they go Muslims that way, anyone else that way, you know, and stuff. That's just you know, textbook apartheid. Anyway, 0344 499 1000. We're going to talk about that and other stuff. And Ed Miliband's net green plans could cost British households £400 a year. Yeah. And I just heard the EU have got rid of the petrol car ban because their car companies are falling through the floor, and China are going to take over. They're going to reverse that. We're now going to be just the only ones. 0344 499 1000. It's me, Andre, and Phil Dave on Talk, back in a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Asher, that story you told me can't possibly be true.
No, I was once in the Churchill restaurant in Parliament, and I was with my mate Sean Dilley, used to work here, he's now at the BBC. And Blunkett walked in with his guide dog, and Sean's got a guide dog, and Blunkett's dog looked at Sean's and went like that, nodded, and Sean's dog went, all right, mate. Like you had a camaraderie of guide dogs.
I'm sorry, you'd had a sharpener or two, you must have.
Yeah,
How
well,
do a dog know to nod at each other?
Well, they do, that's what they do. He had a chocolatey dark brown one.
They know to sniff at each other.
No, well, he just walked in, so he just couldn't sniff his bottom. He didn't have, he was on the lead.
They're not trying to sniff each other's bums, are they? They're trying to work out what gender they are and whether they're up for it. And sniffing's the way they do it. Anyway...
Oh, don't tell me we've got gender-neutral Labradors now, for goodness sake.
Well, OK, so I want to ask you two about this. I worry about Ed Miliband. So I believe that Ed Miliband is effectively the pagan pope of Britain. He's somebody whose religion is climate change. Now, I believe there is some science behind climate change, but I believe it's principally a religious view, which is that the earth must be worshipped, that humanity is evil, and as I always say, Greta Thunberg, lo and behold, a child is born to take away the sins of the world, which has been said before, let's be clear. And you have all the things. You have the Inquisition, you have the idea of a priestly class who know best and everybody else isn't allowed. The science is settled, so you're not allowed any debate. Lots of the worst bits about the religion, about, say, the Catholic Church from the Middle Ages is now something that comes in with climate change. I make that point because Ed Miliband, I believe, genuinely believes that if old people die and if the country is plunged into poverty, it will be a price worth paying to save the earth.
Well, let's face it, old people have died, according to the Labour figures themselves, because they said if you stop the winter fuel payments, 4,500 pensioners would die when the Tories were in power, and then they stopped it, so their own figures, they've got blood on their hands.
I just believe that there are those who are so obsessed with the concept of net zero, which, by the way, is a fallacy. It's not even achievable. You will never get net zero, ever. So I think the fact that we call it that is insane in itself. But it's a little bit like, actually, we've seen several times over the years. I think all of us are old enough to remember various incarnations of certain disasters that are impending based on human behaviour. You know, I recall very clearly the ozone layer. Remember all that hoo-ha? Remember global warming, the greenhouse effect. Remember that one?
Yeah, the acid rain.
Yeah, but they solved that one with banning because it was it was with the aerosols and the fridges, and they did actually fix the holes by getting rid of that chemical.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's be honest, I don't think the world would have.
No, it was just people got skin cancers. That was it. In Australia was the worst hole. That's what that caused.
But anyway, look, I mean, whatever it is. I mean, if you want to believe in some of this stuff that people come out with, then that's your choice.
It doesn't
but
work.
You see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I would argue that when it comes to the concepts and the nonsensical concept of net zero, is if an individual believes it, then let them pay for it. Right? It's very simple. I actually think that the best thing that the Labour Party could do right here, right now, would be have a referendum on net zero policy. Do you want this government to tackle climate change and to make an attempt to achieve net zero, in brackets, which is not achievable? And if so, you vote either yes or no, and if you vote yes, you pay for it. I don't want to pay for it. I'm not interested.
They don't really care. It's a tax ruse. I mean, they carved the virgin rainforest. And look at the moment, all the data centres they're building, all the Bitcoin mining that takes it. And now the biggest thing of all, AI, and they're transferring all energy, because there's basically a Cold War going on, who's going to get AI. They're building these data centres. These are sucking out energy, more energy than can run the city of 1 million people. And basically soon, they're already, like, if you want to buy memory from, the companies that make RAM are stopping selling consumer RAM because there's much more money making the chips for AI. That's why.
And can you imagine what's going to happen with quantum computing as well?
Well, yeah, but RAM's now gone up.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
It's 200% to 300% price rise in RAM. So soon, technology, like, we won't be able to buy tellies because it will be so expensive and prohibitive because it's just going to a cabal, and eventually they will just live in sort of what they're aiming for is just the very super rich will live in guarded estates, and the poor will just have to scrabble about in the dust.
Although you say that, Sam Altman from OpenAI, a company which has raised no money. Now, by the way, OpenAI, to be fair, its new Sora app, you can make a video of Margaret Thatcher having sex with Pikachu if you want. If that is of any use to you whatsoever, that is what OpenAI will do for you at the moment.
I'm not going to pretend a bit like that. I'm not going to pretend a bit like that.
However, on a serious note, Sam Altman's company, OpenAI, which has raised $60 billion, has just committed to building $1.4 trillion worth of data centers using NVIDIA chips, which will be out of date in 3 to 5 years, right? And they've asked the American government to bail them out, right? Does that sound like... I mean, look, much as I love videos of Pikachu sleeping with Mo Salah,
oh, you
right?
do
It's
watch
of
them?
it's of no real value. And actually, these companies are just all going to go bust.
Well, they say it's a bubble, and they say there's 6 companies that will bring the whole stock market and cause the whole massive crash, which apparently is going to be a lot worse than 2008 crash. Don't worry about that.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of preemptive commentary because obviously I don't know what's going to happen. I could imagine that what would happen is that it's only going to go so far, but then technology doesn't. It goes so far before something comes along and
But if you've raised, with respect, you might not be a financier, but if you've raised $60 billion, committed to spend $1.4 trillion, and have asked the American government to bail you out when Donald Trump's the president, I would suggest you've got serious problems.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like the way to run a business in my mind, but at the same time, I'm not some sort of super successful entrepreneur who knows how to run a business. So.
But we went slightly off topic there. The reality is, Asher's point is absolutely true, which is this, that there is a remarkable hypocrisy about all of this, because people are running round. I mean, I always give the example, and it's not related to climate change, but of people filming themselves pulling down the statue of a slave owner on a phone made by a 9-year-old.
Yeah, no, totally and utterly.
When there's more slavery than has ever existed in the 1900s.
But I was going to say, I mean, hypocrisy is absolutely rife because, again, if we go back to your earlier analogy of everything that's going on in the Middle East at the moment, where is the outcry over the millions of Uyghur Muslims who are in China as we speak in concentration camps? And they're not even subtle, they are concentration camps.
Well, where was the outcry about COVID that China caused? Why aren't we asking for compensation?
There is that.
Well,
whatever China wants, China gets.
Where is the outcry of the absolute rife corruption from the African National Congress, who is the governing party, in South Africa, who has the most unbelievable levels of depravity in the country, where there are some who have the most unbelievable amount of wealth in the country. Where's the outcry?
Well, what about, as I always say, Phil, just 145 miles from Israel is a country which has been occupied by a foreign power, Cyprus, since 1974. Forget people building houses. There are literally Turkish families living in the homes of Greek people. Now, you might...
And they're in NATO as well.
Yeah, you might like or you might dislike Greece and Cyprus and all these places. But it's remarkable, isn't it, the hypocrisy? The reason Greta doesn't care about Cyprus is, and I'm sorry to say this, it's a Muslim country that invaded. That's why she's quite happy. Had Greece taken back some of the Turkish islands that are historically Greece, there would be a global outcry.
Yeah, but I think it's a bit more cynical than that. I mean, I don't really sort of think that Grotty Thunberg is anything to go by, really. But I would suggest that sort of the main reason that she jumps on a proverbial bandwagon is because it's fashionable. That's all she does. You know, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that she was whinging about climate change and telling us how dare we rob her of her future. She seems to have forgotten that quite quickly.
She's got a nice future.
Yeah,
I mean, as I've always said about Greta Thunberg,
little cabbage patch doll.
if I had a daughter, or certainly with my nieces, if they phoned me up to say, I believe the planes flying over me are gassing me and I can't go into school until the planes are banned, I would take her to a psychiatrist. I would not enable her to mount a campaign to ban the planes.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. She's been tantamount to child abuse. She has to have been, you know, because why on earth would her parents allow her to be exploited like that? Because let's not forget, okay, she's fair enough, she's in her 20s or so now, but at the time when she first rose to prominence, she was a teenager, and as far as I'm concerned, it was child exploitation. People would say otherwise,
she was like the girl in The Wizard of Oz. They used to dress her she played a 12-year-old.
Totally.
But she was about 16 at the time, to be fair.
Totally.
But the aim was with that quite juvenile League of Young German Maidens look. That was intended to make her look more juvenile than she was.
Yeah, I mean, look at the state of her now. I mean, like you said, if you're watching, Talk, then you'll be able to see that she's sort of currently donning, in this particular image that we're showing, a terrorist scarf. But she loves it. She thinks it's fashionable. Look at the state of her there. She's loving the attention.
What's amazing? What's
that Christine Hamilton? Right?
No.
What's amazing about all of them, they give up washing when they become involved in the political left, don't they?
Oh, good God, gracious me. Seriously, the state of some people, they look like in a jolly good bath. Jeremy Corbyn. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. What you need to do with Greta and all of her chums is say, look, we're just going to strip you down, not for sexual reasons. We're going to put a dressing gown on you. Let's fumigate the clothes first. Right, once we fumigated the clothes, we can move on.
I'd rather they wash out their mouths
but actually, on a serious note, this segment was all about climate change, and the reason why we've gone off in funny directions is this, because I put the theory out, this is my genuine view, that we live in a world where what you say is more important than what you do.
Totally.
These people don't care about people in the Middle East. Asher and I, do you know, when we talk about the Middle East, when we talk about climate change, when we talk about poverty, we have sat here and smashed our head against a brick wall, figuratively rather than literally, trying to advocate for better governance in Gaza. Nobody gives a toss. Greta Thunberg, she wasn't even carrying any aid in her aid flotilla. I mean, it's just so inauthentic.
Well, no, apparently the Israelis confiscated it, don't you know?
Yeah, 4 cans of beans is not an aid convoy.
I don't know what was she. She probably had half of it on the way over.
And they threw their phones into the sea full of lithium and that, killing octopuses.
Well, I think it's very simple. It's if you use a situation, which I think anyone level-headed would say, a tragic situation, because of course I don't think anyone wants to see what's going on in the Middle East actually happen.
No, Hamas are the ones that want to see what's going on.
Right, well, okay, you're quite right. Obviously, Hamas and Iran obviously want to see it. It's because it suits their agenda. But my point being is that most people don't want to see what is going on in the Middle East happen. And if you use that in a bid to try and make yourself look like a better person or a good person, that's exploiting other people's misery, and I think that makes you a horrible human being.
Well, you're keeping it going. They're encouraging it to carry on.
Well, I'll tell you what, the answer is very simple, and this is true of all of them, when they say, and I'll quote Greta Thunberg where she said, we need to end the myth of perpetual economic growth. Well, that's fine if you've got a £4.5 million yacht. You know what I mean?
I think we also need to end the myth about net zero as well. How do you think about that?
What Greta is saying is, let's end the technological advancements which have pulled 1 billion people out of poverty. And we're likely to pull another 1 billion people out of poverty in the next 20 years if people like Ed Miliband and Greta Thunberg don't get their own way.
They're just lunatics. I genuinely don't actually know what other word I can possibly use to describe them, because
I do, and so do they.
They're not right, are they? Either of them. When you look at them, they're not quite right.
Let me be precise. I don't know what words I can use on air to describe them, but I just can't get my head around how much airtime, and even now, I think the fact that the three of us who know how moronic these individuals are, and we're still giving them airtime because we're talking about them and that's what they want. I know we have to, because it's in the news. But my point being is that we need to turn around to these cretins and just say, back off. This is not what normal people want.
Okay. Yeah, well, we do that in the elections, don't we? And they just ignore us.
To Zach in Portsmouth, who sent us a message about Greta.
No. I've seen that message.
Rather you than me.
No.
You than me.
Anyway, look, we've got to take a little breaky. 0344 499 1000.
I didn't read it.
Another stuff. Look at that. Yeah, it's me, Andre, and Phil Dave. We'll be right back.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould, and Phil Dave. No, we're just thinking about Greta. Okay, no, let's not. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Okay. So the Metropolitan Police are now required to disclose their membership of the Freemasons to their superiors. That's something they used to do in the past for a very brief period. Basically, every time a Labour government comes in, they force the Met to declare they're Freemasons. Every time they leave office, it gets rid of it.
Are they not free? No, they're Fabian Society people, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, the Fabian Society, which is actually relevant.
Aren't you a Freemason?
Yes.
Shh.
Don't you have to declare it then?
I think, what's his name? Daryl Morris is going to become one. He's been all over them recently on the Times.
Are you nominating him?
The documentary.
No.
By the way,
we like Daryl.
This is a great... Well, it's a terrible story. Man 86...
I love the fact that Asher just doesn't care about it.
Well, no, I do. We'll talk about that because I know you don't really want to talk about that.
But I know this story and I want to talk about that.
Mates, yeah. Man 86 fined £250 for littering after he spat out a leaf that blew into his mouth. The pensioner was hit with a £250 fine by an overzealous litter warden for spitting out a leaf that blew into his mouth. Roy Marsh, 86, was slapped with a ridiculous ticket after the incident while out walking the seaside town. He said... He was accosted by two council enforcement officers on a windy day in Skeggy, Lincolnshire, earlier this year. As I was walking there, a gale blew a big reed into my mouth. I spat it out, and just as I got up to walk away, two guys came up to me. Anyway, he's had to pay a fine of £250, which was issued and later reduced to £150 on appeal.
Oh,
so if a leaf blows in your mouth, you've got to swallow it down.
No, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd sue the council for failure to secure the leaves. Because hang on, if a leaf is a piece of litter, they have failed to secure it.
Yeah, but also it's only going to go on the ground where it was going to be anyway. You know what I mean?
What kind of lunacy is this?
It's not lunacy. It's about making Britain a hostile environment for ordinary people.
It's absolutely unbelievable. For God, I mean, sorry, what would you do if some bit of rubbish flew into your mouth? The instinct would kick in, and of course you just do. You try and get rid of it.
Yeah, we all saw Michelle McManus on the X Factor.
Yeah.
Would you swallow it, Dave? Spit or swallow for the leaf, £250. Oh. Anyway, his wife said, Roy didn't spit. How many 86-year-olds do you know go around spitting? It's a dirty habit. This really upset him. We've watched these officers approach many older people since. It's like they're bullies. The leaf incident came to light after Mr. Marsh's daughter posted about it on Facebook last month. Jane Fitzpatrick said she was disgusted about it. We were all disgusted. Recently, Dad, who had walking difficulties but does his best to walk every day around the boating lake, inhaled a small leaf that made him choke. There he is on the screen. He looks a bit like Mark Hughes, Manchester United centre-forward legend. Dad has severe...
Sorry, that doesn't look like a footballer. I mean...
No one orders Mark Hughes anymore. Dad has severe asthma and apart from his big thighs. Dad has severe asthma and a heart condition. Never mind that, paid a £250. He managed to cough up the leaf and spit it out.
Does anyone feel like a loaf of bread?
Yeah.
Anyway. No,
hey, by the way, I was reading about bread the other day. You know, bread's not real.
Bread's not real.
What is it?
Bread's not real.
It doesn't really exist.
Of your imagination or something.
You mean we don't... When we look at bread, it's not really there?
No, bread should be...
It's all in the loaf.
Water, flour and salt... When you see,
and yeast,
I was reading this the other day. Yeast. When I was reading this the other day, the bread you buy in the supermarket is like a science experiment.
Oh yeah, that soft white like bread. Yeah, don't get that.
Yeah, no, that's not real. No, that's true.
Yeah,
but no, I was going to say on the
yes,
so it's not real bread.
This 86-year-old chap, you know, with as far as I'm concerned, I'm slightly surprised that at his age, no disrespect to him who is that, but I actually know that sort of the older one gets, the drier one tends to get. You have to drink more water. So actually, is there any chance that he could even spit anyway? So I just think it's all a load of nonsense.
Well, of course,
that's
ridiculous.
That's a joke. How do you know when you're getting older, your trumps are wet and something else is dry?
For goodness.
There was that woman in Kew, West London. She tipped a small amount of drink in a cup. And she got found guilty, didn't she?
It's all about raising money for the councils, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they can spend it all on Afghan refugees. It wasn't. Yeah. Your trump's wet and your mouth's dry. That's right. Yeah.
What if you sneeze and accidentally they see some spittle come out? I bet that's happened to someone.
Disgusting. Like, seriously, what on earth is wrong with these people? I mean, because you actually then, I think you have to question the council.
Well, it's embarrassing for Skegness.
Who are they employing?
Yeah.
Who are they employing that looks at someone who is obviously of senior years, no offence, who clearly has an instant where something has blown into his mouth that he's trying to get rid of, and then thinks, I know, we're going to now penalise this pensioner who already has suffered the humiliation that this Labour government has enforced upon them, taking away winter fuel allowance, on top of all of the other taxes that they're trying to bleed pensioners dry with, and say, OK, now we're going to fine £250. Oh, no, sorry, generously reduce it to 150 or whatever stupid amount of money it was afterwards, when they realise that maybe actually they were a bit harsh with 250. No, you're harsh by thinking it is remotely acceptable to fine a pensioner who has a leaf blown into his mouth. They're mad. They're absolutely bonkers.
They don't care, though. It's all about law. If it's the law, it's the law.
But who are they employing? Who the heck are they
Idiots.
employing at these councils who thinks that it's OK to do that?
Well, when I worked in the local council, we gave people vouchers for recycling more. And every time we got to the meeting, we had this one Scouser who worked for us, and they go, what are you doing about fining? We go, we're not fining anyone for not recycling. We're giving them vouchers to recycle. This bloke go, of course, we do retain the power to fine anyone we want to. No, we're not fining anyone. Can you just shut up? And in the end, we virtually had to have him sedated.
But don't these enforcement officers, they get each time they get one, they get a little bonus, don't they?
Do you know what I think the obvious thing is, the reason why they picked on this chap, is I think they knew he was an easy target.
Yeah, of course.
Because I bet you anything, if
most people run off.
Yeah, but not now. It's backfired, hasn't it?
No, I reckon anything. If some lout, some sort of like teenager, 6'5" tall, you know, really sort of like a bulky build or something like that, if he spat, I bet you anything.
Well, he could just run away, whereas an 86.
Whereas if I was to say it's the culture in the country I come from to spit on the floor, they'd probably give me a knighthood.
Well, there you go. So that's it.
It's not the culture.
I'm very pleased to hear it.
But anyway, look, let's just before we go, let's talk about coppers and Freemasons. Do you ever come across? Has it ever helped you out in any things?
Well, I don't.
Do you know any coppers in the Freemasons? Not that you could declare.
Yeah, loads of them.
Well, there you go.
Hundreds.
Well, there you are.
Tell us more.
It's in my view, it's not unusual for people who've been in things like the military, who've been in the police and things like that. People who've been in scouting, anything that's that kind of patriotic organisation would be the thing that we always used to get slagged off was the Guardian always used to claim that our Masonic lodges all met in the Palace of Westminster, which they didn't, and they found one old lodge which basically, I think in about 1920, had some MPs as members, and it had one old duffer in it who'd worked for the Daily Express, a lobby correspondent, in about 1986, and they cited this as evidence of a takeover of the Palace of Westminster by Freemasonry.
That sounds about like the logic I'd expect from the Guardian.
Yeah, that's right. It was probably because they thought most Freemasons are Jews that they were so angry.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's terrible.
It's them and Mel Gibson.
We're funding the war in the Middle East, so they'd be angry with us.
That's right. I've got to be honest with you. No, I mean, look, Freemasonry is just a club, isn't it? I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find. The problem is, any group of people who get together are going to have certain traits that I think it's more to do with people joining en masse with the Freemasons rather than Freemasonry itself. But
has it ever helped people out in court cases and plea? It must have in the old days. Maybe
yeah, but I think
only to the degree you might know someone who's specialist enough to actually help you with your.
Well, yeah, but a judge might be able to just get you if you do a little signal in the court and they go.
I think it's unlikely. I think what's probably more likely to have happened is the hierarchy or the elite of a particular town were all the same people, and the fact that the magistrate gave somebody a lower sentence was probably more to do with the fact they knew each other from just being ordinary people, important people in the town, rather than the Freemasons or the Rotary or the Conservative Association or whatever it is.
Well, I put it to you, it's probably just boils down to people who are exceptionally jealous of something they don't understand. You know, I have members of my family who are parts of various lodges and stuff like that. I don't know what goes on in those lodges. It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't interest me, to tell you the truth. It's never really interested me. But as far as I'm concerned, I saw that raised eyebrow. Do you mind? But the point being that it's something that doesn't interest me. But I can't understand why people just don't say, well, look, someone's doing something and getting on with their life and not causing any harm to them. In fact, on the contrary, they're probably doing good for it because of the charity work they're doing.
Charity, yeah.
Just leave them to it. Who cares?
Yeah. But I think the left always need an enemy.
Oh, always.
Yeah,
always. They're
So
always fighting.
So if it's
they're
not the
rebels
Jews, it'll
without
be the
cause.
Freemasons. If it's not the Freemasons, it'll be the National Trust. If it's not, it'll be the slave
Anyone
masters.
who doesn't agree with them now is a fascist or a racist.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyway, 0344499. Are you staying or are you going?
I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. Stay tuned. It's the press preview next. Me and Andre on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, it's the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Peter Barnes. Look, the front page of the Times, we've got a picture of the Queen. And what were you saying about the Queen, Asher?
Well, every time I hear the Queen on the Queen has done it, I keep thinking of the actual Queen from before. You can't help it,
Queen
can
Elizabeth
you?
II.
And then you realise it's not that, because of course when Prince Philip was around, he was Prince Philip. He wasn't King Philip. But I mean, it's Prince King Charles or King Prince Charles, because he'll always be Prince Charles.
I believe, Pete, I maintain that King Prince Charles is what he should be known as.
100%. I mean, it's now a co-op in the village I'm from, and I swear to God, people still call it Huxley's. It's not been a butcher since I was about 4, and people still call it that. You know, it's one of those names, isn't it? And it's one of those things that people think the Queen, you think of Elizabeth II, and Prince Charles, well, King Charles again. You just do it naturally.
King Prince Charles.
King Prince Charles is his name.
Of course, we always forget.
Do your impression.
I think that's your best one. I think that's your best one.
Thatcher one's pretty good.
Yeah.
They're actually
It's
quite
similar.
similar. Thatcher and King Prince Charles.
King Prince Charles.
Anyway, saw away son, Mo and Hendo chew it over. What's he done with Liverpool? We can do better than talk sports. That's Sir Jordan Henderson having a chat in a very nice tiled restaurant somewhere. How to beat a
Is that restaurant tiled?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Hey, it's a Masonic joke. It's a Masonic joke.
We're out of this.
It's a Masonic joke.
How to beat a Zempic buttocks, a Zempic bum. That's how to beat them, because apparently if you take a Zempic, you get some sort of different bum.
You can't. I'm not. You know what? This is awful. This is awful. But you know that Ozempic?
Yeah.
Right, you take 2.5 milligrams per week.
All right.
Right?
Well, don't you have different allotted things for different things?
So my mate who's diabetic gets them for free and takes about 4 shots a day.
And he's not fat, he's like a rake.
Right, I get about 4 shots a day. Those individual pens sell for £100 each.
Yeah.
Now, it would be illegal for me to do this, but I've got about 50 in my fridge.
How much do you want for them?
And literally, I was looking the other day thinking, do you know what? Even if you sold them for half the price, that would be £2.5 grand.
But you're not allowed to do it. That's a very serious crime.
The slight problem with that, it would also involve defrauding the NHS, and it would be an offence of drug dealing, and it would no doubt be a noxious substance. But when
you lose weight on the other hand.
But you sat there thinking, these things sell for £100 each, and my mate can order from the health service as many as he wants.
Is that once a day you're meant to have that?
No, you haven't. So he has it about 4 times a day after every meal.
And that's £100 each?
No, so that one pen, you get 4 out of one shot per week if you're doing it for fatness. You do about 5 a day. So consequently, he's got
Is that not insulin he's having there? Are you sure he's doing that 4 times a day? Because I know they inject insulin.
Yeah.
What about the
there's a lot of people on the internet.
Kilimanjaro.
Is
Kilimanjaro.
Anyway, pub ban MPs in tax raid. It's also in the Sun. You're barred. Landlords' message to Labour. Hundreds of furious landlords are barring PM Sir Keir Starmer and his Labour MPs from their boozers in protest at the sly budget tax grab. Do you remember when he got thrown out of that?
That's one of my favourite things.
Get out my pub.
But my favourite thing about that, though,
and security grabbed him.
So was that an impersonation of Peggy Mitchell?
Yeah, that's why he was like, get out of my pub. And they grabbed him and threw him out his own pub.
That was the funny thing, though, is this very skinny guy went up against his Keir Starmer's security. He was not going to win that fight. I mean, this guy was like a stick, and the other guy was he'd fill the door frame. So I always find that's one of my favourite clips.
Do you remember that great incident where the amazing security around David Cameron was so bad that a jogger just ran into that jogger, and he had a pineapple on his head and all that sort of stuff.
Do you remember at the conference when that guy went up to Starmer and threw glitter over him, and Starmer was like, just looking around sort of gormlessly.
Yeah, I don't like it when people do that, because they did it to Theresa May with the P45. I think you're messing with security.
Simon Brodkin.
Yeah, that's the one.
Simon Bobkin.
I've got to be honest with you. I remain of the view that John Prescott had it right. You egg a politician, you should expect to be thumped.
Yeah.
Well, that was instantaneous, wasn't it?
It was quick reaction.
He was a boxer in his ship steward days.
You never lose it.
There was also, I don't suppose we can talk about it, but that incident at the select committee, wasn't there, with somebody from News UK?
Yeah, oh God,
the right hook incident. That was superb. Anyway, I just want to ask Pete.
Yeah.
Do you approve of banning Labour MPs from pubs? It's something that normally instinctively you don't like.
No, it's not. I understand why people want to do it. I think I get the anger.
It's a publicity stunt.
And it's a way of kind of getting your anger out there in the papers, and it's a big thing. But the value of it is a kind of there's other things you could be doing, but.
What else could they do?
Well, you can actually band together. You can lobby. You can actually affect policy change. But again, this gets you in the headlines.
If you employ Ben Howlett. Have you seen that?
Why
have you seen the Ben Howlett thing? Well. Ben Howlett, I can't stand him. Yeah. Somebody went undercover with his lobbying company and said they were a Chinese company trying to invest in the UK.
But what about in the old days the breweries were the most powerful? Haven't they got any power for lobbying?
No,
anymore?
Because what happened is the breweries bought out loads of venues, and they actually used it as a bit of a kind of land grab when everything was on the cheap. Now everything's gone up through the roof in terms of overheads and prices and all the rest of it. They now are actually having to close pubs because they can't afford to keep them open. That's the big problem. Pub breweries actually became kind of actual landlords rather than actual brewers, and the market didn't go the way they went.
But the tied houses were made illegal by John Major.
There was a lot of change.
Let's have a look at Starmer getting thrown out of the pub during his campaigning. Let's have a look at that. Here we go. Brendan the VT.
I'm not allowed in my pub. No, Laura. I'm not going to physically hurt him. That man. That's assault. I am not bothering you. I am not bothering him. That man is not allowed in my pub. Get out of my pub. Go on. Calm yourself down. Get out of my pub. Calm down. Thank you.
What did he give him?
His glasses.
Oh, his glasses.
Ironically, not from Lord Alley, but there
He
you go.
was like Peggy Mitchell, wasn't he? Get out of my pub!
Yeah. If I remember right, wasn't that in Bristol?
I have no
I think,
idea.
Bath, Bristol or Bath. It's like one of these like proper lefty cities now. But
Calm down, you just decked him.
Yeah, I know,
You're
yeah.
trying to stop someone coming
Yeah.
into his own pub.
Yeah, but I mean that's just bad management when you're running a campaign day. Ring ahead.
Yeah,
you
that's right.
go to a friendly pub. Like you know, you all know which ones are friendly and which ones are not.
Yeah,
This was bad
I've
management.
got to be honest. Let's not mention it and just arrive with all the
Yeah,
paparazzi.
yeah.
Didn't Margaret Thatcher upset Harry Ramsden in something like 1983?
Something like that.
When they got her to eat fish and chips, but of course, the first rule.
You don't eat on camera.
Don't eat on camera. Do not eat on. I mean, I do for a bit of a laugh. But of course, what Thatcher did was she picked up the fish and chips. She goes, "Oh, I really support British fish and chips." Right, and of course, she didn't eat it.
Yeah.
And Harry Ramsden had misunderstood. He thought she was actually there for a lunch. He was going, "Let the woman eat. Let the woman eat."
Well, why didn't she have them? Delicious. Does she not like fish and chips?
Well, it's just not
No,
something
it's
that you
eating
do.
on camera.
It's eating on
No,
camera.
right,
Nobody
I see,
looks
yeah.
good eating or drinking
David
on camera.
Miliband, but he doesn't look good
Yeah.
even when he's not eating.
Well, that's true, yeah.
You know, he's not.
It was
he
Ed
doesn't look
Miliband.
full
Yeah, but no,
ticket,
David
does he?
Miliband was the one with the banana. If you remember, there's something
What
awkward.
was it?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. But Ed
Yeah, it's
Miliband had the
true.
sandwich at Theresa May with ice cream and what's the one with it's Christo's dad?
Miliband.
Is that the Miliband?
Ed,
It was Christo's dad runs a cafe in I think it's Victoria,
Somewhere like
and
that,
he
yeah.
made the bacon sandwich. He shouldn't have been eating bacon if he's a good Jewish boy.
I will say.
God punished him.
I will say one thing. Of all the Jewish friends I've got, he pulled the least offensive
Yes,
face
yeah.
of being fed a bacon sandwich. But anyway, can you imagine? It's a bacon. It's exactly the same as. Do you remember that on?
Most Jews I know don't mind a bacon sandwich.
Do you remember
But
that?
they'll eat it properly.
Do you remember Borat, where he says to Congressman Bob Barr, he goes, "My wife made this cheese." He goes, I won't use the word. He says it's from breast milk. It's Bob Barr's face. He was.
Actually, the guy who ran Fathers for Justice, he started off an ice cream parlour selling breast milk.
Oh, yeah, I remember
in Covent
that.
Garden, and the
product was called Baby Gaga.
They banned. We had him on the show, but I didn't try any. But they banned him a day later because it was not for human consumption. Which is ironic because it is for human consumption.
Yeah, but my mate did that. My mate went to another friend of ours' house and he went, "Oh, I like milk. I went, that's breast milk." He went, "Who cares? I've drank it out of a cow. Why?" Pasteurised. And of course he
You
drank
can
it.
buy the gold top, but we had a woman
it
who
wasn't-
squirt. But I want to know this: if there's any pregnant people out there, you got to say people,
Pregnant
because it
people.
might be a matter. No, because there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary where he gave. But and you've not got milk in the fridge. Have you ever put it in the tea? And what's it like? Anyway, 03444.
I'll tell you what somebody said to me the other day, which I think is, who cares about this? But they went, "Oh well, I was babysitting my sister's kids." And the baby would not stop crying, and I kept giving it his bottle, and it kept kicking off. And I said to her husband, "Look, I'm just going to breastfeed the kid." I have to say, an aunt breastfeed. I don't see that's a major problem.
I
think it's when it's a blood
I'm just very English and no.
Some do it like a bit too long, like bitty 8 years old. You know what I mean?
You can spot those when they get older.
It's a different. Apparently, it's a different consistency. Like newborns, it's a lot like double cream.
You know a lot about
And
this, Ash.
and it gets a bit
Bitty.
thinner. Anyway, the Times, the Soaraway Times, and mansion tax to devalue homes by £50,000 off.
I worry. Can I say I worry about this mansion tax because when people talk about taxing wealth, right? So the vast majority of people's wealth is in their home, right? So imagine you said, right, we're gonna tax all these houses, right? Okay, fine, and we're gonna do this. There are people who would have to sell the houses. Right, how many people? Imagine you said it was over £1 million. I know it's over £2 million or whatever, but say 100,000 houses go up for sale, and all the people in the market to buy these houses are currently selling them, not buying them. Then actually, the problem is with the tax on
kill the
wealth.
market.
The problem is with the tax on wealth. It's liquidity, isn't it?
Yeah.
People don't have it in cash.
Yes, that's the big problem. It's one of the many problems. But I actually view this, a lot of it, many people very close, because it starts at 2 million. It doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
No.
You know, and this is the big thing, is what the Labour Party have introduced into our society are precedents. So whether it be digital ID, whether it be removals of trials, changing elections, whether it be property taxes and all this kind of stuff, it might not seem that bad now, but give it not this government, but the next one, maybe the one after, God knows what situation we're going to find ourselves in, unless it all gets repealed.
I think the bigger concern is that they're all going to attempt to. They're just not going to cut back on spending, are they? They're just going to spend.
Yeah.
But they couldn't do another furlough. They couldn't afford it, could they?
No, but basically, this is the point: is they'll just spend until they get the bailout.
But don't we need it all to collapse to change everything?
So this is my
they're
thing.
never going to go,
this is my
we're
thing.
wrong.
I've stopped saying decline and collapsing. We've collapsed.
Yeah.
Everything has broken.
Yeah.
You cannot change anything if you perpetuate the idea of things falling down. Things have to hit the ground. And it's at that moment you then rebuild back up.
Oh, sorry, I think there's complaints about the volume. Oh, it's all like a good. I do apologise.
By the way, I saw Rachel Reeves at the committee about her budget, and they were having a go. And the woman said she talks about the £22 billion black hole. The woman said, "Yeah, but that was approved wrong by the OBR." And then she said, "Well, no, it wasn't." And then they just carried on. And I thought, well, was it
we need to
declared
do?
wrong? And if so, hasn't she misled Parliament?
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a
So
doubt.
she should resign, and so should Starmer,
Yes.
because he mentions that.
Yeah, I go back to there was a chancellor in 1947. I can't. Hugh something his name was.
Gateskill.
No, I thought it was. It's Hugh. I think
Edwards,
Hugh Dennis.
no.
Something like that. Anyway, the story
Is
is
Hugh Dennis won half of
yes,
Punton Dennis?
Yes, but anyway, there was a chancellor in 1947, and he accidentally made one comment to a journalist in the lobby in Parliament the day before the budget.
Yeah.
The day of the budget, he resigned. That is how
what he meant
serious
to do.
we used to take these rules.
Yeah, right up to the 80s
Right
they'd
up to
resigned.
there. And now you can literally get in front of the public, tell whatever story you like, and you get away with it. And then when you wonder why everything has fallen to rack and ruin, that nobody gets fired. Hugh Dalton, that's the one. And that's the point, is that any kind of purdah, any kind of convention was a convention because nobody thought they would overstep. Nobody thought that that we would have these kind of people in our politics. That's why everything seems to be a chaos, because we didn't bother with the rules.
But the question,
And
the whole debate in government now is we are going to spend. How can we keep ratcheting it up? Where can we get the money from? More money. The problem, I've said this before, raising taxes is like solving a crack addict's addiction by giving him more crack.
Yes, and the addict is the public.
Yeah.
That's the point, is that we blame all these other little groups, but it's not migrants that got a car because they've got anxiety. We indulged in all of this stuff. We went mental with it, and more importantly, we voted out anybody that said no. We acted like children as a nation, and unfortunately we're paying for the consequences, literally.
Can we turn this country round?
I think you can, but I think you've got a very small window to do it.
And it will take a
Realistically.
long time to get back.
Because it
Maybe
is a
not even in
cultural
our
change.
lifetimes.
Yeah, and this is the point. It's a cultural change now. It's not just changing the people. It's changing the way that we look at government.
But we believe now as a country in the nanny state. We
Yes.
believe in welfareism. We
yeah.
believe in high tax, poor public services. As an example, the National Health Service. We believe that people ought to die to sacrifice themselves for the NHS.
Without a
We
shadow of a
believe
doubt.
that.
But we're
Of
not
course we
really
do.
bothered about, the economy, we've been skint before. It's the changing culture that is far more important. We can always come back from being poor. Streeting strikes may force NHS to collapse. Well, will we notice the
It is
difference?
collapsed. It is
exactly.
collapsed.
Zero.
Also, that headline you can print off every single year.
Yeah,
every
for about
single
the last
year.
50.
Yeah.
0344, but it's much worse. 0344 499 1000. Robert, Georgina, Wayne, Grace, Mandy, and Yaz, and the plastic population, the witch in Manchester. We'll be back in a jiffy.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
By the way, we're getting loads of messages in about the Freemasons and how the great work they do. They're all good blokes, apart from Metropolitan Grand Lodge, which is genuinely full of some of the worst people I've ever met in my life.
And that's a lot of people.
Yeah, I'd avoid them.
On the scale of people I know you've met.
Avoid John Wood, he's particularly bad. But OK, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. What have we got next, Asher?
Well, it's just the last story in the Times. Prepare for war with ruthless Russia. NATO chief tells Europe. Can you read that? Because I haven't got my glasses on.
No. OK.
Right, OK. Well, basically, I saw what happened. A NATO chief and one of our is saying basically we're now at the same risk as the Second World War, as our great-grandparents and our grandparents.
I can read it now. Yeah. Europe must prepare for war with Russia. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte said yesterday he urged allies to raise military spending rapidly to avert the threat. I mean, what's interesting is about Rutte, who's, by the way, is a Liberal Democrat, and we're getting complaints about the sound again.
Just listen.
Mark Rutte, who's a Liberal Democrat, is that we've now raised up NATO spending to way more than what Trump originally asked for.
Oh yeah, that was the entire point of it. Like, just to scare Europe half to death, because we've been spent years trying to work out what a woman is, and Russia's like literally on the doorstep, if not through the front door.
Well, I read it earlier, and Putin and the other guy, whatever his name is saying if your peacekeeping troops, they're fair targets.
Yeah.
So they can basically looking at our troops as the enemy, and they can shoot.
But to be fair, your untrained Siberian conscripts will be fair game too.
I think that's...
but he is a nuke. That's the worry. He's threatening a nuke. Would he do it? He is a bit mental. He's a bit mad. He could press the button.
Can I tell you something?
We've got it here. Should we launch one?
Such fake news.
Can I tell you, if he attempted to deploy strategic tactical nuclear weapons, they'd be blown up in the silos.
Would they
really would.
Yeah.
Well, all 1,600 of them, or
because
2,000
the problem is the other thing is they'll all be badly maintained. They'll have an incredibly small.
But you only need
stock.
one
This
to
is the
work.
point that I
You
keep
only
saying.
need one to work.
Yeah, but this is the point I keep saying, is that Andre's right, is that the Russian kind of arsenal is not well maintained, which means that if Putin goes and everything descends into some kind of civil war in Russia, that's when you all panic, because Russians against Russians. I
don't think that's the danger. I don't think that's the danger. I think the big danger is the Chinese invading Russia, because remember there are enormous parts of Manchuria which are now in Russia. Vladivostok itself used to be a Chinese port. Now I'll tell you what. If Russia starts to implode, which it might, the Chinese will invade.
Oh, I also think
that will be a nightmare.
Yes, you also have the fact that a lot of China is imploding economically as well, and the last thing they need is the market to go haywire.
Yeah, but what do they need?
Why
they need the Nvidia chips, which are in Taiwan, and America today have said we don't know if we'd be able to win a war against China.
Oh,
and it's all heating up, isn't it? It's all picking up.
Yeah, this is the thing. A hot war was never off the table, and we all were a little naive to think that countries don't go to war like that anymore. Of course they do. Do
you think it'll happen, the Taiwan, America, China war? Because
I would argue that we're already in a war with Russia. We're already in a war with China. We're already in one.
A Cold War.
Yeah. But no, a cyber war, we've been in one for decades, but the problem is because it's not got uniforms and tanks and things
People
that are
aren't
blowing
dying,
up.
though.
Yeah. Well, to a degree, you could argue it.
Do you know what I reckon? Do you know what I reckon Trump might do if there was a war with China? Convert the US Federal Reserve to bitcoins and not pay the Chinese the dollars that are owed. And the Chinese economy would just go immediately.
But the problem is, if that happens, the rest of the countries, whose debt, China bought, also goes with them. So this is the problem, is that the idea of some kind of big nuclear event is unlikely because of this. Everybody is so interlinked now.
The problem is with a nuclear strike. What you have to remember is that we're more likely to strike first than Russia. This is the bit that people forget. Kaliningrad and Belarus are 25 miles away from each other. If Russian and Belarusian forces link up in the Strait of whatever it's called between Kaliningrad and Belarus, they cut off Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. and they could do that in about 4 hours.
Yeah, but then Russia could launch nuclear weapons from their submarines everywhere. Being first doesn't help.
But that fundamentally and deliberately misunderstands my point. Why are they going to launch nuclear weapons when they'd win the battle in 4 hours anyway? It's us that had launched the nuclear weapons
because
in order to get them out of the Baltic.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, the whole nuclear thing, I think, is when all of this kind of started with Ukraine, I think it scared a lot of people because obviously they are in play. But the reality of them was, I think, very significantly over-egged. And I think we have to kind of rein that back in and actually have some more strategic planning when it comes to what our armed forces are. Because I can't help but notice, I don't know if you heard the other day, but NATO said they were prepared to make a first strike. NATO is a defence pact. So what on earth are they, why is that entered the conversation? That is a fundamental distribution of NATO.
Why don't we just say something I've said before, right? That Vladimir Putin is not going to attack Britain until they evacuate his daughter and grandson from St George's Hill in Weybridge.
Yeah, once they get on the plane, what are we going to do?
Where they're living under fake names.
Yes.
Like the one detail that literally everybody knows.
What if next week they're suddenly on a plane to Russia?
I'll tell you what.
Do you think someone's not watching them?
Oh, yeah, but it still wouldn't help, would it?
Yeah.
But amazingly, he still won't fly them to Russia. Even though, and that compound that he's built, so he's got 2 new children with that gymnast. Have you seen the picture of Vladimir Jr.?
No, I've not.
No, it's absolutely hilarious. He looks just like his dad.
But by the way, it won't be like Hiroshima. It will be the end of the world. Because it's thousands and thousands of nuclear missiles, mutual assured destruction. The nuclear winter will last decades. It will be
depends whether you're talking about tactical or strategic.
No utilities.
I actually think you're more than likely going to get a vial of something dropped in a major international airport, and I think that is how the world will end.
We've already had that, haven't we? That plane that they poisoned Litvinenko on, they had to destroy that plane.
Yeah. I mean, the recent report into the Salisbury. Just look at the catastrophe that caused. That's because the GRU are not that efficient.
Listen to this. How will we all die?
Let's do that after the break. How do you think this world will end? Probably how long as well?
Just the most Partridge thing. The most Alan Partridge thing we've ever done.
0344 499 1000. How would you like the end of the world to be? Give us a ring, 0344 499 1000. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. OK, so we're looking at photos of Vladimir Putin Jr., the kid that officially doesn't exist, and people's... In the gallery, they think he looks like Dave Atherton.
Very much
He's
so.
about 8, right?
Yeah. I can see
Dave Atherton's about 63. Popular commentator, Dave.
We must get Dave back on. Not seen him in ages.
I haven't seen him in ages, actually, yeah.
There's the Daily Mirror for you. And World Cup of Greed. Apparently, the minimum price to go and see the World Cup is $5,000 each now. So
yeah, I know everyone's
are you
so. No, absolutely not. I can't stand football. It's a waste of time. But I'm so surprised that everybody's shocked that FIFA, a corrupt organisation, made things corrupt.
no, it's just expensive, isn't it?
Well, you know, it's a money raising thing for them, and it's just ridiculous. But again, when you indulge millionaires who kick a bit of football, a bit of leather around on a field on a Saturday afternoon, I just find it a complete waste of time. I find it a waste of time.
If it was the Rugby League World Cup, you'd change the tune. But it's about 40 quid for the whole tournament there.
You can buy the teams.
Yeah. So are you an evangelist for Rugby League then?
Oh no, well,
that much?
I used to. I played for years. I was a referee. I did loads.
That's not playing, is it?
No, but I did play for a bit. But then I'd referee.
Were you the ones run down the wing?
I was a winger in the second row.
But your dad is like something like the secretary of Oral Rugby Club.
Yeah, he was president of Oral Rugby Club.
Oral Rugby Club.
Now, for people who don't know, Oral in Wigan is quite an important part of Wigan. And Wigan, if there was going to be a mecca for rugby league, it would be Wigan, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right, because
not Oral.
No matter how much you whatever you say of Wigan, in that borough there are two major teams, Wigan and Leigh.
Yeah.
Much as Leigh hates being in the next door is St Helens,
Warrington
Wolves.
Well, everyone always says it's a sport played along the M62.
Yeah.
So it's like the World Cup of that. It's just like in America where it's just America.
Yeah. But then you've got Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, South Africa. There are lots of. If you actually go to Australia, it's more of a national sport than rugby union is.
And it's tougher than rugby union.
It's more athletic. It's athletic. Some of the best rugby union players for England are former rugby league players.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, though, if Wigan played St Helens, that was basically like the World Cup.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's Derby Day.
Because they're the two best ones.
Yeah, it's Derby Day, and it was always used to be. It's Good Friday. It's always the Good Friday game, and it used to be the Boxing Day game when they used to do that, but they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, sometimes they get union team and a league team, and they give one half of one rules and one. And the league team
got massacred in
the league team. Massacres.
Yeah, because it's just the different. It's a same sport, different game.
Who was it? Well, I remember,
aren't they?
One of my brother's mates applied to be Wolfie, the Warrington Wolves thing, and they said he just apparently banged on the door and went, "I would like to be Wolfie," and they went, Why should you be it? He went, "Because I can moonwalk."
That'll do it.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But then, have you ever seen when all the mascots compete in America and all the football
They
teams?
have a fight sometimes.
They have like proper kind of like Olympics and everything.
Especially the ice hockey. It's traditional to beat the crap out of each other in ice hockey, isn't it? The Daily Express, win your Christmas shop with Iceland. Hero Lioness is up for Sports Personality of the Year award. And Stop Reckless Strikes as NHS fights super flu. Of course, they go on strike during the flu.
Do you remember what was his name? Damon, the motor racing guy.
Damon Hill.
Yeah. They made him Sports Personality of the Year, and you think, well, I mean, he's a sports person.
Yeah, it's like Andy
He's not
Murray.
the biggest personality of the year.
Andy Murray, they gave him Personality of the Year.
Daily Star, win your Christmas shop with Iceland, so you could win it 2 chances if you get both papers. Migrant highs in Nativity.
This is hilarious.
He's, if you can see the migrant, he's running away from Italian authorities. He's run into a nativity scene and done a sort of Max Spygraves where he's still. Yeah. And apparently it worked for a minute.
Apparently, but it was the mayor that spotted him.
Yeah, but the mayor said at first.
It wasn't for that pesky Mary, would have got away with it.
You know what I mean? He probably thought,
okay. I know this sounds stupid, but if you and we're not sponsored by these people, but if you were to win your whole Christmas from Iceland, what products would you pick? I mean, I don't know what specifically Iceland.
Pigeon blankets, Magnum ice creams, Lucasade, and
it'd be like buffet food.
I remember James Whale being incredibly jealous of me when I went to Ascot and they had this thing with Magnums where they first dipped it in, I think maybe liquid nitrogen or something to make it very, very cold. Then they dipped it in liquid chocolate, and they put this on nuts on it, and it ended up with like 4 coatings on it or something.
Do you know who invented the Magnum?
Go on.
Roger Moore.
No.
Yeah, he was caught eating a chocolate an ice chocolate ice, but because he used to get it all down, and while he was offset, he put a stick in it, and the people saw it, and that's how you got the Magnum.
You sure it wasn't Q that did it?
Oh yeah, I'd like to think it was Q, but no.
Ice cream.
But no, it was Roger Moore.
Do you remember that on Alan Partridge? Look, listen to this, Partridge, and listen to this, a Bond. Get this biro and slap it into... That's not
Q's best line is, don't touch that, it's my lunch.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because Thatcher invented the Mr. Whippy when she worked at Wolves.
So I'll tell you what I like more than anything else, right, at Christmas, and everyone thinks that this is pretentious, but I don't care. Make your stuffing with chorizo and sun-dried tomatoes and paprika.
All right, Nigella, calm down.
So what you do is
Do you do the dinner at your house?
So you get the stand. Whoa, last year, lest we forget that somebody bought a 40 quid lamb thing, right? That went in the freezer the night before, and I opened it Christmas Day. And have you seen that men behaving badly, where there's like they're imagining how good it would be, whereas actually, all we did was we can't eat that because it's frozen. It'll take 24 hours to defrost, so we just got completely shedded all day.
I remember you saying that actually. No! I spent £40 on this. That's hilarious.
I wouldn't mind. Fresh lamb had gone in the freezer. Where's the fresh lamb to cook? It's in the freezer.
Right. This is quite an interesting story. This is in the Metro. I can't read it, but I know what happened because I keep over the top of these things. 600 artefacts linked to Britain's colonial past missing as gang robs museum's warehouse. This happened in Bristol 3 months ago, and we've only just heard about it. 600 artefacts. There's ivory things like special Napoleon Nelson stuff.
This is a liberation, isn't it?
Yeah,
without a doubt. It's in Bristol, so of course it is.
Yeah,
it's all colonial stuff.
I do think you're right here, Ash. That it's interesting that this has taken 4 months for it to hit the news
after
because
the
this
Paris
is actually
story.
because you look at the security around museums is actually quite lax, and we're getting there's been an increase in attempts to rob all the major museums here in London and around the world because the security is not as good as people think it is.
No.
And the market for these goods is only getting bigger. And the Paris one was more hilarious because the person who's in charge of it is useless. But
and they took it out of really good cabinets to not very good cabinets.
Yeah.
Do you remember the robbery at Blenheim of the 18-carat gold toilet, which was a real toilet?
I mean, that was
and it was worth about £6 million quid. They caught the people, but I mean, they never got the bog back. It was properly plumbed in, by the way. So when they ripped it out, it caused millions of pounds worth of damage to Blenheim Palace as well.
What made me laugh was, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but where they go, let's make a solid gold toilet and leave it virtually unguarded at Blenheim Palace. Is that going to end well in the public area? No.
To be fair, I mean, it's quite brazen to nick it, if you think about it.
It was a smelly robbery. I mean, it was used. People got to use it.
I always say this. If you put a high-vis jacket on and walk around with a clipboard, you could go wherever you like.
There was that great Phoenix Nights thing where they nicked the telly. Yes. They were in overalls. Oh, they were in overalls.
That robbery in Paris was in the opening time. They went in yellow jackets, a ladder up to the window, got in the window somehow. So there was still people coming in and milling around. Then they just smashed it, got out and legged it.
My favourite ever story. Probably, I mean, it's quite hard for people to imagine, but probably the size of this room in King's College London. You used to walk in on the Strand and there used to be this enormous map. Anyone who went to the University of London will remember it. They used to say, "Welcome to King's College London." Right, during the debating competition, a group of lads from Glasgow, from the Glasgow...
There's a start to a story.
A group of lads from the Glasgow Debating Union walked into reception, said to security who was sat there behind the desk, "We're just here for the mat." At which security went, "OK." They rolled up the mat, slung it over their shoulders and took it back to Glasgow.
Yeah.
And literally, the security were literally sat there and they went, they said they were here to collect it. What do you mean?
But it reminds me of a story when we talk radio in the old days in Oxford Street, and a guy in a ski mask came in, went to security. Is Ian Collins around? He went, "Yeah, it's that way." So a guy broke in the studio with it, and luckily Miff, the old tough East Ender. Yeah, Miff the Merciless. He got him out.
Miff the Merciless. Right,
anyone from the Creatures of the Night will remember
I'm
Miff.
I'm sorry. Before we go any further, with the press preview, can we just understand who Miff the Merciless was?
Yeah.
He was a guy, basically assistant producer. Of course, there was Mike, and there was Kev the Wonder Sheep, and there was Miff, and there was Sarah, the lovely Sarah Mulvey. And Miff was his sort of cockney. He's still around, glasses and that, but he didn't look too hard. But he was hard as nails.
why was Miff the Merciless involved?
No one really knew that.
Yeah.
No one really ever got to the bottom.
Exactly,
He was a funny guy, and he was sort of.
But when I say these guys Raiders of the Lost archive, when I say that these guys are liberating. This just feels like this is, these are the treasures of a foreign country robbed and pillaged by the British. You know the way they go on?
Yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
Well, it's the same place that they brought that Colston statue down.
Oh, yeah. Bristol is somewhat of I think it's a bit of a lost city at this point.
If they go to court, they'll probably argue it was a protest and the judge will let them off.
Yeah.
I mean, I worry about this very greatly. So, one of the reasons why I don't believe the Elgin marbles should be given to Greece, and I'll say something in their defence. Greece has now built a museum for it to go in. The Elgin marbles were saved from destruction, although to be fair, it was the Ottomans that forced the place to be blown to bits in the first place. So I accept that. But the reason now that I don't believe that the Elgin marbles should go to Greece is because I actually think the best thing that museums can do is just have all this stuff on global rotation.
Yeah.
And the first thing we could do is loan the Elgin marbles to the Greeks, and that would start that process. And what they would immediately do is not return them. Yeah. And that process would end. I think this whole idea of saying, look, there's stuff in the British Museum which is important for Britain. Let's send it to Los Angeles for people to see it. We can now send stuff and insure it in a way we couldn't.
Oh yeah,
40
that's
years
right.
ago.
But also, I think the British Museum isn't just for British things. It's a museum. It's an international institution, like the Smithsonian, like the Louvre. You know, it's got art from around the world. It's got artifacts from around the world. It might be in Britain, but it's not the British Museum. And I think that's where people get this argument wrong. And I think you're right. The power and the influence of these kind of cultural exchanges could be huge for Britain.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when the Tutankhamun Mass came to London, and me and my father went because he went to see it the first time it ever came here.
Oh, really?
And we came, and it was something that we did, and you know, the influence of that, you know, I still remember it very vividly, and you know, there's a big market there and a big bit of influence Britain could really peddle. We just don't.
I must have told you about my great story about Patrick Christie's. But I told you this.
I don't think
this is absolutely superb, this story. When Patrick Christie's, he won't mind me telling you this, when he worked for the Daily Express, he got a phone call from Sky News saying, we'd like you to come on and debate Europe, but be anti-European. So he went, yeah, all right, fair enough. Didn't tell him any more than that. He arrived with Kay Burley and some professor of archaeology, right? So they go, the city of Bayeux has decided to loan the Bayeux tapestry to Hastings for the first time since it's been made. It has never come to the United Kingdom before. Here to discuss it is Professor Bob Jones from the British Museum, and to oppose it is Patrick Chris. And Patrick sat there going, well, they didn't tell me I had to oppose him. He said
Didn't we make it, actually? And they took it. It was our needlework.
No, listen to this, right? First of all, the town of Bayeux were in favour. The city of Hastings were in favour. The French National Museum were in favour. The British National Museum were in favour. The French government were in favour. The British government were in favour. Every conceivable organisation had been consulted on this, and left was Patrick Christie to oppose it. I went, what happened? He went, after about 2 minutes, I reckon Kay Burley knew I had no idea what was going on.
2 minutes isn't bad on that, though.
By the way, the British Museum, they took a lot of Palmyra from Syria, which actually saved it, because ISIS smashed it down and hanged the 80-year-old man, tortured him and hanged him, and destroyed it. So we actually saved it, and they were able to 3D print or whatever and put it back in Palmyra.
That's the one thing that we never talk about when it came to ISIS and the kind of the cultural destruction.
Well, look
and
at
the
that massive
deliberate
Buddha
erasure.
that Al-Qaeda blew up, or the Taliban. They blew up that beautiful 1,000-year-old Buddha in the rocks.
Lest we forget that the Ottomans were using the Parthenon as hardcore to build roads.
Yeah.
They were smashing these marbles to bits. And Elgin comes along and says, look, you're just going to crush them and use them as a building material anyway. You might as well sell them to me. Now, to be fair, in defence of the Greeks, it was not the Greeks that blew up the Acropolis, and it was not the Greeks that were smashing. But if you look at the people who later invaded Rome, when I say invaded, the uncontrolled immigration of Rome, they just took the Colosseum down and used it as building.
Reminds us of the UK now, doesn't it?
There's even more recent example. Look what happened when we gave things back to the Iraqi museum and in that area.
Got stolen.
Literally the next day, all of it was just walked out the front door.
Oh, yeah.
There is a reason that we keep things here. It's because they are safe here. And, you know, people might not like the colonial aspect of it, but, you know, what would you rather to have? The marbles or nothing?
Oh, yeah.
That's the choice.
03444991000. Marbles or nothing. It's Talk with Andre and Ash and Pete. Marbles or nothing after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. I wanted to ask you about this story that we were talking about before. It's been in the news throughout the week, so it's not necessarily on the front pages. But this whole story of OpenAI.
Yes.
They've raised $60 billion in equity. They've signed deals to buy $1.4 trillion in data center services. That is the NVIDIA chips, AMD chips, and all this sort of thing. And now they're saying they can't possibly raise the money to pay for it, so they're expecting taxpayers to buy it for them.
Yeah, I have to admit that how all of this got into such a mess is absolutely bizarre. But the interesting thing is that OpenAI or ChatGPT people, they're now no longer untouchable. And, you know, everybody else has raised their game. You know, you've got Grok from Elon Musk, you've got Gemini that's just had its third
Are they
phase.
all doing all right?
Yeah, they're now pretty much on par, if not better, in certain areas.
Well, because they're saying there's a bubble, and if it claps the market, then America might get involved, and also it's a bit of a Cold War situation against China.
Yes, because this is the point, is that AI is now so ingrained into most systems that you don't realise, so that they can't really afford for it to collapse.
And you can't take your foot off the accelerator because the Chinese are doing it and the Russians.
Yeah, and that's the big thing now, is that I think, as per usual, governments got involved in something they didn't quite understand. It got out of control, and now they're trying to scrape it back because the businesses, and I say this for a very long time, they were begging the government to stop them. I was very fortunate. I went to Bletchley Park when Elon was here, and I was at the big tech conferences, and every single person there was saying, "You've got to stop us because we're just going to keep building and building and building.
They can't stop with the Chinese doing it, though. It's sort of an impossible sort of snowball.
But how much? I mean, I was reading about these new what is it? Manta ray unmanned sea drones. Yeah. So basically, they can't communicate with America. So they're out in sea, and what they do is, when they decide 100% with their AI that they need to attack something, they just attack it automatically. The slight problem is, if then an autonomous thing attacks it back, you can end up and in AI speed you could end up with some sort of huge war going on. And it's just a malfunction by one.
But the big thing that my big fear when it comes to ChatGPT, obviously, and AI in general, is obviously you've got the kind of the end of the world thing, but actually it's the main thing, and that's bias. The bias that is in these programs is phenomenal. I mean, they all swing.
They don't know how it works now. It's making its own and blackmailing stuff.
Yeah, and it's got out of control. But also, it's the people that have been programming it haven't been aware of their own bias. So when you ask it for news sources, it goes straight to the Guardian, straight to the Independent, straight to the BBC, and then you suddenly say, look to the Times, the Telegraph.
That's what Wikipedia as well.
Yeah, and this is the big problem. Is actually it's going to be so ingrained into our system, and it's got this innate bias that everybody's just going to start trending more to the left.
Well,
because
it's
that's
run
where
out
everything
of stuff on the internet to suck out, and the thing is, it's not even it's programming itself now.
So the original LLMs, so the large computer languages that they work on, so literally they were just big blocks of data, big texts. Now they've gone through most of those, so now they're doing it through kind of self-learning, and it develops within itself, and it's all very complicated, but it is quite concerning that this is running away with people, and it's being used incorrectly by governments who are putting it into a system and then just not regulating
it. The winner takes it all, and then it loses it all to the AI.
Yes.
So but I worry. The big problem is, and I've said this before today, I've given this example so many times on the show. I got $7,000 taken off me by YouTube because they concluded years ago that it was fraudulent traffic, right? And the reality was, it plainly wasn't fraudulent traffic. What had happened was, I'd gone from 0 to 2 million views, but they hadn't realised it's Andre Walker, that's external. I'd never been on before, so I come in, suddenly do well, and it's Brexit. Here was the amazing thing. When the money was taken from me, I initially was not that worried. I was pretty worried by the end of it. Simply because YouTube, I think in the end, probably knew I was in the right but wouldn't admit it. Their data security system had completely flunked it. They were trying to stop the Islamic State ripping off companies like Unilever, which they couldn't do at all. So instead what they do, and they still do it now, they just wipe people out financially. And the problem was, A, they believed the system was infallible when it plainly wasn't, which is more dangerous. And B, when they knew the system was fallible, they just denied it.
Yes.
Now, those two things are the danger of AI.
Oh, without a doubt. But it's also the danger of big tech, because they need to keep the facade of, we are data secure. The minute any kind of data leak happens in any of these big tech companies, stock prices drop, their investments drops, markets and world shivers. And that's the danger now, is that we are so ingrained into like 4 companies now that when one goes, they all go.
And they're self-censoring now. I mean, the EU just found Twitter 150 million, like 50 million for you're doing the verified thing correctly, and so they're finding them just enough to make them worried, but not enough to end them.
The one with the EU was actually, it was the personal fine against Elon, not X. That was the interesting bit. They went after him. They didn't go after the company, and I thought that was very insidious, because they don't like what he keeps talking about. That's the worst bit of that one. But yeah, it's all terrible.
And the biggest story in The Guardian, Chrissy Hind.
It's all the Jews' fault.
I pierced Johnny Rotten's ear in a toilet. And that's an exclusive. Zelensky's... Anyway, it's The Guardian.
By the way, just to be clear, I was joking about The Guardian, but The Guardian is just a filth rag, isn't it?
But to be fair, we actually wanted... Israel has an absolutely huge tech sector. It's where most major apps were founded at one point.
Intel, I think. Is
so what about this...
They won't throw their mobile phones away, will they, when they tell you to boycott Israel? They still keep their mobile phones, and they'll take the medical stuff.
What about the front page of the Financial Times? I don't know a great deal about about Venezuela, but it does look like it could be coming to an end. The world's richest, the country with the most oil in the world, is living in poverty. They're literally eating rats because of socialism.
Yep, and this has been a story brewing for quite some time. Nobody's really paid that much attention to it. It's one of the reasons that the woman won the Nobel Peace Prize, because...
And her name is Maria...
Do you know, the Americans sneaked her out in a wig to get there, because she was under house arrest.
Yeah, well, she's under threat of death, basically.
She hasn't seen her children for 2 years.
But, I mean...
Mind you, we've been burnt with Aung San Suu Kyi, so let's just be clear.
And her favourite... Do you remember when they got her out and they interviewed her and they said, what was your thing that kept you sane? She went, Dave Lee Travis, and they sent him out in the big hairy cornflake. That's what, so I knew she was a robin by then.
Well, watching Trump he's gone after the ships. He's literally putting American military power against another state, and nobody seems to really be that bothered by it. But
no, but it's an odd situation because Maduro has taken back Venezuelan criminals, so it's kind of at the same time as they're stopping. So the central allegation, for those of you who don't know, Trump says that Nicolas Maduro is the head of a cocaine dealing cartel. That is the central allegation.
Much,
but either way, him and Chavez, through their utter incompetence and corruption, have taken a rich country and made it genuinely incredibly poor.
Yes. By the way, Mark Dolan's coming up after us, if you're listening in the morning. It's Mark Dolan, 03444991000. The old mate, Mark.
He's the one they always get.
Mark, put your top on. You're on in a few minutes. The Daily Telegraph, Britain must not rely on US for defence. Well, we can't rely on ourselves. You know, no one's joined the army. Our weapons are falling apart. Of course, we've got to rely on America.
That's
I know this is an awful thing to do, but when you walk around this Christmas, all the Christmas markets will have firearms officers for obvious reasons to protect us from being culturally enriched this Christmas. And just look at how many bullets they've got in the chamber. They've only got about 3. I've been told before today that British warships, half of them have got 1 missile.
Yeah, there was a leaked thing that actually most of the Trident submarines didn't actually have missiles on them.
Crazy.
But this was always the point of NATO, though, is that no one country was supposed to have its army and its nuclear power. You were supposed to share resources. The problem is nobody kept up their side of the deal, so now nobody's got anything.
We sort of rent them off the Americans. It's sort of lease, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the technology within them. It's this it's the Trident actual system.
Just to explain that to everyone, the United States of America does not allow foreign nuclear weapons onto its territory, and so the United Kingdom leases its nuclear weapons from America. The real reason for that is so they can be serviced in the United States of America, but if they belong to the UK, they wouldn't be allowed
this
to
idea
do
that the Americans get to decide if we fire them or not isn't true.
I love it. No, but let's be clear, when they go, is there an American kill switch? I reckon there is.
Of course there will be a back door. There always is.
There's probably a Chinese kill switch we don't know about.
My thing with Trident is that the Prime Minister gets to write the letter that goes in the safe. Imagine being the one that opens it from Keir Starmer.
Oh, God.
Could you imagine how dull that is? I mean, if you read that letter to his son, that was terrible, let alone...
Change.
This will
cause change.
Ask Lord Ali.
The Daily Mail, are the posh new butters and spreads healthier than good old margarine? I would say so. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Apparently margarine's dyed yellow. It's grey in its natural...
But I thought nowadays margarine was just oil and butter. It's not all those nasty...
I don't really have an opinion.
It's better butter anyway. Bit of butter on your knife. And, it's much... It used to be unhealthy, and then they said, no, actually, it's more healthy, and they'll say it's not. Minister says Britain's on a war footing. What does that look like?
Again, we're already in one, and we've been on a war footing. I mean, how big's the foot? Because we've been on one for about 2 years.
I think it's a broken foot.
Dragging it behind.
Anyway, look, we're just going into breakfast if you're listening in the morning. Mark Dolan coming up. Are you staying with us, Pete?
No.
Oh, he's going. So it's just me and Andre and your calls. And, Mark Dolan coming up in just a couple of minutes if you're listening in the morning. If you're not listening in the morning, stay here because we're just going to
Virtual Ash.
At Andre JP Walker.
At PC Barnes 123.
OK.
That's it, Another minute now.
If you are listening on Thursday night, we always give Pete the opportunity to reflect upon the week.
Pete's final thoughts.
This has been a weird week where there's been a lot has happened, but it's all the same story. Everything is terrible because everything has collapsed. That's my takeaway. Just accept collapsed. And that's it. And Merry Christmas, one and all.
But you're back next week.
Yes, I am. Yes,
Well, if we're still here.
Yeah, that's true.
The way it's going, who knows?
And so, thanks to the trains.
Are you doing any shows tomorrow, Pete?
I'm on with Kevin from 7.
Excellent.
And and then I'm back on Sunday with Mark.
And don't forget, we'll be back after the news in a minute, but tomorrow we'll be back from 10 as well. And the Great Whale tape, we'll be playing a bit from the Great Whale tomorrow from 11. And what are you doing tomorrow? You're filming, what is it? Plank of the Year.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Plank of the Year.
Yeah.
That's Pete on Plank of the Year. Back in a couple of minutes after the news.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. I guess we should just go straight to the phones. Wayne in Lincolnshire, you are on Talk.
The Lincolnshire Poacher.
It's the Lincolnshire Poacher. Thank you, Ash.
All right,
Good evening.
All right, man. Morning now.
I do apologise.
Yeah, good morning. What's going on?
Well, I'm sport choice there. You got Peter with you still?
No, he's gone. He heard you were coming on, so he left.
Oh, okay then. I don't know what to talk about. I don't want to talk about the...
You should have decided before you called. I mean, whatever you want to.
No, okay then. What about the police station in London where they did that 4-month investigation? A girl got taken into the police station and she had to have a responsible person with her, i.e. anybody, and she said, I can't go to the desk of the sergeant who raped me when I was 8.
Right. Is that ongoing? Is that an ongoing thing, is it?
It's only just been discovered. It's only just been discovered.
Right. So it's ongoing. We can't really talk about an ongoing thing. I'll look into it, but, you know, what else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. While you're talking to Asher, let me check
What's
whether we
your
can
next
actually
thing you want to talk
that.
about, and we'll come back to that.
All right.
If we can.
Thank you, Andre. Yes, it's about this AI business. I live in a bungalow, Ash, and I don't have to think we're all lonely in a bungalow, but I'm used to plenty Chinese menus, and this one stood out a mile. It's about, do I want to rent a AI doll?
An AI what?
Doll.
An AI doll?
Yes.
What does that entail? You mean
yes. Yeah, I do mean that.
What, and they offered to rent it to you, so it's like second hand?
Exactly, and...
I'd get a new one, I mean...
Oh, yeah, well, the new ones, it sounds like I've done my research, it ain't. I'm only just saying what's off the brochure. the lowest price one is £2,000.
Well, it's not bad value. So, I mean, I remember we used to have a guy on, they used to make them very realistic, but now, of course, you've got the technology in them. I mean, would you be interested in something like that?
No, my missus would kill me, unless I...
Because is it actually having an affair if you've got an AI robot? I mean, technically, it's just a machine.
Yeah. Yeah, so how would that go? Yeah,
it's a philosophical question, isn't it? I mean, it's just a fancy...
But how would the wife just bingo and say, you never guess what? I'm sharing a bed with an AI doll, so she'd keep it quiet, wouldn't she?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I know someone who did actually, he said it was better than the real thing, so...
Well, this is what I mean, 2,000.
You're not going to get a very good one for £2,000, though, are you, really?
No, I would have thought so. I think you'd probably be visiting the doctors an awful lot with a few missing bits.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit strange, isn't it? But that is sort of where the world's going. I mean, you've got kids now who are actually sort of having relationships with their AI. And actually, I was chatting to an AI the other day, and I felt a bit sorry because I was a bit snappy, and I felt a bit, and I thought, well, it's a machine, but you do start, it's quite a weird thing, isn't it, talking to something that talks...
I'm pleased you said that, because I apologise sometimes when I share this smart speaker. It's like...
Yeah, it's a strange thing, isn't it? You feel a bit bad if you're a bit, you know what I mean? It's a strange human thing. Do you think...
Are you talking about David Carrick?
Yes. No.
Oh, he's a convicted, police rapist, No,
he was on duty at the time. This is only 4 months ago. There's a 4-month investigation.
No, because there's a woman who said when she was 12 in the 80s, she was attacked by David Carrick, and he's now got an additional life
sentence. But this was someone you said, a girl who at the sergeant's desk said something about it.
Yeah, she said she went...
Well, I mean, we haven't checked it yet, so we can't really...
I can't find it.
We can't find that.
So I think it's probably best we don't discuss it.
We will look into it, though. What else do you want to talk about, Wayne? Anything else?
Well... I'll tell you what I want to talk about, right? First of all, I want to ask you how you are, Ash, and Mrs. Wales is.
Yeah, well, I've got to give her a ring, but yeah, I'm all right. You know, I've been a bit sick last week. Everyone's got this COVID-y sort of whatever it is thing.
Yes, mate, I have missed you.
You've been all right. No, you had it before me, didn't you?
I've been feeling a bit ill for a couple
of
weeks.
And I must say, Andre...
Yes?
You look dapper tonight, mate. Looks like you've lost a few pounds and your hair looks immaculate.
Yeah, I've decided upon this hairstyle.
Better, isn't it? Yeah, you're flirting with him.
I've decided upon this hairstyle.
Get a room.
Well, I tell you what, it really does suit you, kid.
It's taken me a little while to work out what to do with it.
Style, yeah.
But I think this is...
Like that. Please leave it like that.
Well, the only problem was I didn't want the side part because I thought it always reminds me of Adolf Hitler, but I think the ginger side part is not Hitlerish.
And no moustache, no little moustache.
No little pencil. Can you imagine?
Long as we don't go back to the 80s and never Kev.
I'll tell you what I want. Do you know how when you go through like most towns and they've got those barbers and they've still got pictures of like Iceman from Top Gun, right? You got the flat top.
That's what you've got now.
I'd love one of those flat tops.
Yeah. You used to have one, didn't you? Anyway, thanks, Wayne. Let's go to Georgina in London.
Good morning, chaps.
Morning.
How are you? How are you?
We're all right, then.
Difficult to follow that call with the AI dolls. I don't know what to say now.
Would you be interested?
Not at all. The only dolls I've got, and I've got to be honest, are my baby dolls when I was a little girl, and I still got them.
Well, I'll tell you the dolls I used to like.
They'll be worth a few quid, they will,
Do you know those dolls you used to get in Blackpool where the woman always looked shocked? She had her mouth open in a shocked,
I remember that.
shocked look.
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
The shocked dolls, holy crap.
She was shocked.
Family show.
No, she was shocked. That as far as I was concerned, she was just very surprised.
Like these dolls that look shocked. I don't know what that was about.
To be fair, if someone blew you up by blow, well, let's not.
Yeah, you'd be shocked. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I was ringing up about this. This wearing of the masks and goodness knows what. I'm really worried for the simple reason is I think they're going to try and wedge us back into another lockdown.
I don't think that'll work though, will it?
I know that
they can't afford a furlough. We can't afford. That's bankrupted us anyway.
I'll tell you where I'm with Georgina. I got the impression that there were lots of people in government and in the NHS who felt that lockdowns, masks and furloughs should become part of the future, if you like, toolkit of public health. So what they wanted to say was this is brilliant. We're now going to eradicate a lot more problems in future by mandatory vaccines, by lockdowns, by masks, by furloughs, and they were going to do it from area to area. So you go, right, Blackburn has got a particularly bad flu outbreak this winter, therefore we're going to lock down Blackpool and seal it off. I think my view on it is that if you are a patriot for this country, you have to just refuse that.
Well, I would definitely refuse. And to be honest with you, with these viruses, like COVID, that was a virus. Like the flu, that's a virus. They're airborne viruses. So if you are breathing, you know, these masks are no good. They're neither use nor ornament. And they are bad for your health as well.
Yeah, but wouldn't you rather if someone coughed in your face on the tube and it just went all over you, or would you rather they had a mask on?
I'd rather they had a handkerchief.
Yeah, but you know, if they don't, at least you know some people just won't. That won't even be their reaction.
But actually, wasn't part of the wearing the mask proof that they were a better person than you? So if you remember, after SARS 1, a lot of people from Southeast Asia wore masks on public transport, and there was always a noticeable who are these Chinese or Singaporean people.
It was Japanese, I think. A lot of the Japanese do that anyway.
So a lot of people from Asia did that, but and it didn't bother me because that's what they did, and you know, fine. What upset me is the way that wearing a mask has become a badge of honour. You know, you're a better person.
Well, I think you look a bit silly, actually. You look like you're a controllable person now. It's sort of turned around, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think the people who feel that way, that you're the bad person, are people who would feel that way about you, Andre, even if you weren't wearing a mask. Because they've got a self-right. These liberals and these lefty, wokey types have got this, like... It's like delusions of grandeur.
Yeah. So you're saying even if he wore a mask, they'd look down on him?
No, even if they knew our political view, and they you know, they would look down on us anyway. To them, we are no better than scum of the earth.
But it's political,
by the way, can I just ask you? Peter's got in touch to say, if you want to be thrown round on a bumpy ride by something that's got lots of holes in it, he would suggest a £2,000 Land Rover would be the way forward rather than an AI doll. I thought that was an excellent joke, actually. He wrote that quite well, Pete.
That is very funny. That is very funny. But yeah, I do think that they're wedging to do something. There's something smelly going on. I can't put my finger on it. What they're going to do.
I think the problem is in a world, for the world to succeed, you need a yin and yang, don't you? You know, if you look at
more yang than yin.
Well,
more yang.
That was too much yang. That was precisely the point. That was precisely the point. I was going to make. So if you look at that great picture of mum versus dad on the slide, and dad is throwing the kid down the slide, and mum's and they're going together, and so there has to be the risk-averse person and the risk-taker person. What worried me about COVID is that people who were obsessed with viruses were the only people who were being listened to. People who were the risk-averse people were the only people being listened to. The big state people were the only people being listened to. And those people who might have legitimately turned around and gone, I accept that this might kill Granny, but actually destroying the education of 1 million children, on balance, I'm afraid Granny's going to have to look after herself. Those people were not listened to at all. And that's a great risk.
Can I ask you a serious question as well to the pair of you? How do you feel about these vaccinations that they are pushing all the time? I mean, they did it with the COVID.
Well, it's put me off. I mean, just the COVID thing, even when it wouldn't have been before now, any vaccine has made me think, well, maybe I shouldn't. And even my mother thinks, she's, getting on a bit, and she's not happy about
Georgina, it. Georgina, I will tell you a fact. Whitty, Vallance, Van Tam, all of these people came on TV and said the coronavirus vaccine is 100% safe 100% of the time. You can only lie about that once and then you destroy it. It will take us decades to get confidence back in our vaccine system. And let me tell you something, just to help with YouTube and Ofcom and all these people who came up with this garbage, no medical procedure is completely safe. Had people gone onto the TV and said, look, there is a balance here. So I'll tell you what I don't agree with. I don't agree with these people who say no vaccine's safe ever. No, that's silly. What you have to say is, you have to say there's a balance. So as an example, giving school children a vaccine which had no benefit for them was clearly not worth doing. My mother had lung cancer, so obviously even if the vaccine was comparatively dangerous, my mum and dad would have taken it because of it's a respiratory thing. But I will tell you, when you lie about the safeness of a vaccine once, it will take decades to get the confidence back. Do you know something? Do you know something? When Henry VIII added copper to silver coins, it took 30 years for European merchants to start accepting British silver coins again. 30 years.
I know. Well, yeah, but the thing is, you are absolutely right with what you said. We have lost confidence in these, the WHO and what have you. We have lost total confidence.
Every institution we've lost confidence.
We've been lied to that many times, Ash.
So whatever they say, we sort of believe the opposite now.
Well,
but if you are Whitty or Van Tam or any of those people, and you now say, I can assure you with all my medical knowledge this is 100% safe, then you'll say, yeah, but you lied last time. And even if it was only 1 in 100 or half a percent.
Like that Imperial College bunkum.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to the point in my life now because, I'm not a young woman by any stretch. And I think with doctors, I try and stay away from doctors. I've had some pretty serious medical conditions in my life. Yeah. And I don't want to go to doctors because when you go to a doctor and they give you medications, there's always contraindications with the medication. So you end up with more and more problems.
Well, I think there was a lot of in defence. I mean, we should always put this warning on this. I've always said that if you take medical advice from political commentators, you're an idiot. So don't do that. But I will say, so we're talking about the politics of this. There is another side to this. I think a lot of ordinary GPs disgraced themselves, but a lot of them behaved incredibly well. And I think we are in the era of medical science. And I think where this went wrong was not being honest. If you open up any drug, it will have a list of potential side effects. And I think it's important to understand those. And if you do, then you decide what risks to take. So as an example, my mum had immunotherapy for cancer and it was completely ineffective and the side effects were absolutely devastating upon her. However, the vast majority of people who take immunotherapy will extend their lives. And therefore, you have to, the one thing I would say after what happened to my mother, always remember the other guy could be you. The person that, the 1 in a million side effect, you could be that 1 in a million person.
But the thing is, some people say the worst place to go when you're ill is hospital because you'll get, I had an uncle who was a bit, ill and he went into hospital, you get, MRSA, you'll get this thing, that thing, and they don't care about you. A lot of them, he's old, they're overweight.
Oh, I'll tell you.
And a lot of people go because, you know what I mean, it just seems
Friday afternoon, the NHS now had to rub out the elderly, believe me. Believe me.
Being older myself, I wouldn't want to go into hospital because I think once you get past a certain age, then you go in and you're a drain on the NHS. Bear in mind, you've paid your taxes all your life, which I have and my husband has. But you are made to feel like you are a burden.
They know. I will.
Party of death with the abortion up to 9 months and the the euthanasia laws that they'll gradually open and soon they'll go, it's better for everyone if they just go.
Well, it's not better for me because I've always looked upon it as you go into hospital when you're over a certain age and they give you the spike. That's what I call it. And it's adios muchachos. 1 minute you're there, and the next you're breathing your last breath.
I will say one thing in defence of withdrawal of care. In defence of it, if you look at the Barack Obama argument versus the American right, so one of the big problems that you have in the United States of America is a defined benefit. So you get get this insurance scheme that says you have the right to XYZ treatment. So you have the ludicrous situation in the United States of America where somebody who has a year to live has a lung and kidney transplant. And you go, sorry, they've got a year to live anyway. So the lung and kidney transplant will not extend their life, but they just do it anyway because they've paid for all this treatment. And what happens is, in America, because you have an absolute right in the insurance policy, sometimes tens of millions of pounds can be spent on people really who, you know, as an example, a 90-year-old being given a hip replacement and all that sort of thing. And I think that to have that balance at the end of life and decide, well, you know, are we going to give a liver transplant to someone who's 95? No, we're not, because that seems a bit silly. I think the NHS does do that better, and I'll tell you why I make that point. Because one thing the NHS do not do is lose kids willingly. They throw the kitchen sink at sick children.
I'm sure they should, but the thing is, they do throw the kitchen sink at sick children, and so they should.
Yes.
But the fact is, the money that's not going into the NHS now, people are having their appointments cancelled numerous times. I know with me, they cancel mine 3 times.
Well, people die just waiting in A&E because there's too long a wait. And there was an old bloke. There was an old bloke, I think he was about 80 odd, and he'd fallen over, broken his leg, and he was in the queue of ambulances. You know, I have ambulance queues. And when they got to him, it was about 6 hours later, and they said he's got sepsis now, he needs it amputated. But because he's 80, there's no point. We'll just make him comfortable, basically. He's going to die. And this was just purely because the ambulance, they could have just put antibiotics in him straight away. But because he waited 8 hours, that was the end of him. And that was it. That's the sort of care you get.
Well, this is what makes me mad, because the NHS now are saying, because of this flu problem, that they can't cope. Well, hang on a minute. They're not having any problems coping with illegal migrants going in for procedures.
And it happens every year. We know there's a spike in flu and cold at this time of year.
But we need to get herd. What do they call it? Herd immunity.
But also, I don't believe them. I don't believe them.
But also, we're sat there like Oliver Twist, aren't we? Please, sir, can we have some more? The NHS is run for the benefit of the staff of the NHS. I'm not saying that makes it bad, but it is run for that.
Well, it is bad. It's not meant for them.
Be working for us, Andre. I mean, it's not. We're working now for the NHS.
Yeah.
And this is not right.
And a lot of it is the management and consultants and people, not medical consultants, just people in the offices. Anyway, 03444991000, Hertfordshire Bob, Grace, Mandy, Yasmin and Ken, and you back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. And let's go to our call next. It is Grace in London. Grace, you're on Talk.
Hi.
Morning.
Hi. Following on from the discussion earlier about the appalling sexual abuse that seems to have happened, or particularly this attack on a teenager by some older teenagers. It was being said that this country is very much shaped by Christian values, and we've talked about this many times, and I would concur. But I wanted to point out that Christian values came here from the Middle East. Mm-hmm. Under the ancient Romans, indeed, Christianity really shaped our culture. But prior to Christianity coming in and shaping our culture, white people, I don't know, I'm a white person, white people in Europe thought it was fine to sexually abuse women and girls. They thought that was okay. And then Christianity came in and taught people, no, it's not okay. My point being simply that it would be a mistake to think that ethnicity is in any way the issue. It is about...
Grace, I believe it's about how society is developed. And one of the things that I feel that we are unwilling to say in the West is that in many developing countries, the culture, whether that be the culture of family life, whether that be the political culture, or even things like economics, are less well developed than they are in the United Kingdom. Now, we are so used to saying equal but different. I would never say that the reason that somebody's groping people in the streets is because, black people are stupid, or Asian people are this, or Chinese. I just believe that they're backward societies who need to learn from the more forward societies.
I think it's a bit more complicated than that. And obviously, also, each person is an individual with their own... I mean, I for instance, really don't like some things that are typically British, like football. So the culture that a person is born into, I know it's not the same as crime, but the culture that the person is born into isn't wholly going to dictate... No,
but you get statistics where 10 times people will sexually assault people from certain cultures and then not others. So there are statistical...
I mean, also remember... Anybody who doesn't wear a burqa in Afghanistan's a prostitute, right? Therefore, Afghan men are going to behave inappropriately when they say a girl in a miniskirt. Now, my view is Afghan for the Afghans and Britain for the British. I believe that these Afghans just shouldn't be here.
I wouldn't say that, actually, because I think that there are objective moral rights and wrongs, and I'm actually really concerned about Afghan women who are being hurt by some Afghan men. And again, I would say some Afghan men, because I'm sure that most Afghan men actually wouldn't behave like that, even if their culture is different from ours. But I mean, talking about Christian values, the most important Christian value is to recognise that there is sin across humanity, including in our own hearts. And so,
but we've got Ken on the other line. I might bring him on in a minute. I'm not sure. But I know what Ken would say if he was asked about this. He would literally say that the problem with these countries is they are insufficiently Christian. They've insufficiently followed the Bible. And actually, the reason why women are being assaulted and hurt in Afghanistan is because people there are Muslim, not Christian. And he's going to straight out say that.
That's it, Ken. Is that what you'd say, Ken?
Yeah, partly right, Andre. But we have to understand that we're just talking here, the biggest problem in the country is Islam. Muslims, this is the big problem we need to be honest about.
Well, not all Muslims, is it? It's certain cultures it's more recent ones, isn't it?
Why don't you let me speak?
Well, because I had to just clarify. You just called everyone who's...
Ash, why don't you let me
speak? Because you said basically you said everyone from that.
I said this is a problem in the Islamic religion. They regard the white people as trash. That is the facts of the matter. I've studied Islam for many years. They have total disrespect for white girls, especially if they're inappropriately dressed.
Yeah, but not all of them. I mean, clearly not all of them.
Ash, do you know, I'm very disgusted with you, my friend. You are a part of Judaism, which is totally anti-Christ, anti-Christian, anti-Bible.
Oh, come on.
Ash, that's just...
Well, we like part of the Bible. We like the first half.
When I come onto this station, you try your best to shut me up.
I was just, but Jesus was Jewish, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Anyway, Grace, carry on. Ken was having one of his turns.
I mean, I would say that actually the biggest problem in any country is not Islam in itself, but sin. And I think that what we can see in the West is that aside from what Islam is doing or is not doing, there is a decline in the values that had made our society a fairly okay one. For instance, selfishness is more and more normalised and seen as okay. I mean, I saw a programme the other day where one character says to another, I'm really proud of you for putting yourself first.
Yeah, look after number one. That was sort of in the 80s, wasn't it? That sort of came back.
So what I'm saying is that while there are things about Islam that I do find deeply concerning, and there are also plenty of Muslim people who are genuinely fantastic, but while there are things like Islam itself that I find concerning, I think the ultimate problem in our country and in other countries is not Islam, but sin.
Well, no, you're right, because really it's our government and the people running it. You know, you can't blame people from, like the boat people. If I was them, I'd do the same thing. It's the people in authority who don't care about stuff.
But hang on a second, what role religion, what role culture? I mean, as an example, there were many very, very decent, honourable and honest pagans who believed in human sacrifice. I mean, you wouldn't turn round and say to them, well, you know, okay, you were a good person. I understand that obviously your culture affected you. You'd say, I'm afraid human sacrifice and paganism is wrong.
Absolutely. I don't know how you define that they were nice and honourable in the first place if they were carrying out.
No, the point I'm making is, if you have concluded that any religion of any description is a negative force on society, the fact that some of its members are nice people ought to be irrelevant to the debate about it.
Well, I hadn't said that all religion is negative on society. I think I'm saying that as opposed to presuming that badness and evil is something that comes into our country from outside via migration. Actually, unfortunately, evil is a problem across humanity, and we need to not only be concerned about migration, but actually about changes in our own.
Great, thanks a lot for that. I think we should go back to Ken because we brought him in. Yeah. Ken, what did you actually call to say?
I wanted to call about Danny Kruger. On the 18th of July this year, he gave an amazing call to this country to go back to our Christian foundations.
Yes.
It was an amazing speech. It was 10 minutes. It's on the internet. Now, he spoke to a totally empty House of Commons. I think 3 people turned up to the talk. That shows you the interest that our MPs have in Christianity in our nation.
And just to remind people, Ken, Danny Kruger is the Conservative MP who's defected to Reform and will be effectively Nigel Farage's Chief of Staff, I think, if he becomes Prime Minister. That's not relevant to what Ken's saying, but it just is a little bit of context. And his mum is Prue Leith.
And by the way, about 3... yes, Dad's Freddie. About 3 months ago, this woman, I was riding an e-scooter perfectly legally in the streets of London. This woman went, hello, and I went and helped her out. Her Mini was broken down. It turned out it was Danny Kruger's wife. Just totally random. I didn't know who Danny Kruger was, but I did from that point, and it was
Ken, are you disappointed?
I didn't fix it, by the way.
The difficulty for me, Ken, is are you disappointed that Kruger didn't get a big audience, or are you pleased that finally somebody's standing up in the way that Kruger is? Because you could be either.
Actually, the message went viral, despite all the disregard for this man's idea to encourage our nation to go back to belief in Jesus and the Bible. It went viral. It was totally empty. I think there were 3 people turned up out of 650 MPs. 3 MPs turned up. That shows you the state of the nation. Now, while this is going on, no interest in Christianity, this is what's happening in the House of...
Should we allow non-British people to be in Parliament? I mean, it's the normal in most countries. If you're not born there, or if you're not, British in our case, you don't get to have any political powers. Why should you be able to move from anywhere and 2 years later have a political position telling us what to do?
I would like to remind you of what's happening in the House of Commons. Right now, there's been a tremendous increase in MPs who support immoral LGBT queer ideology. There's a tremendous number of MPs to support the sinister increase of wokery ideology, transgender health destruction ideology. They support it. There's a very dangerous indoctrination.
Well, look at euthanasia and abortion. They support that as well, don't they?
I'm just going to mention that, euthanasia and abortion. Now, they support all these things. The point I'm trying to make here, dear listeners, and you, Andre and Ash, the point I'm making here is this. Our MPs are promoting demonic doctrines in our nation, and when one Christian born-again man has the courage to stand up and call the nation back to repentance and faith in Jesus and faith in the Bible, 650 MPs nearly refused to come.
And they mock people like that. You know, if you say you're religious, you can't be Prime Minister. Do you remember there was the leader of the, was it the Lib Dems who had to go
Tim
because
Farron.
he had a religious belief? You know, nothing wrong with that.
But we're
Tim
talking
Farron.
here about the problem of Islam in the country. You know, in Islam, you're not even, a non-Muslim's not allowed to go into Mecca.
Yeah, I said that earlier.
Christian is not allowed to preach the gospel in any Muslim nation that they do under the threat of death or prison. When the Muslims come here in our nation, the police allowed thousands and thousands of Muslims who hate Israel, they hate the Jews, they hate Christians, to preach their
I must admit, Ken, it galls me to hear people talk about tolerance when they come from a country that so vilely persecutes Jews and Christians, and when they come to Britain. Look, I'm not supporting the fact that somebody makes a nasty comment about a burqa, but there is a big difference between machine gunning Christians on the street in Nigeria and somebody getting the odd racist comment in Bethnal Green.
Correct. Andre, we are facing the greatest threat to the life of this country. We are under the greatest threat, and it's coming from Islam especially, and other religions, and from atheism, and from the immoral doctrines of LGBT and transgenderism. We're under threat. Now, this is a time for the Christians. We need to pray and ask God for courage to speak up. I'm talking about...
And what will you do? What will you do? I mean, we're starting with Christmas now. Most people have got their Christmas trees up. It doesn't include me, by the way. I've not sorted it yet. But what should people be doing this Christmas? And what will you be doing that's different than any other time of year?
I'll be doing the same as I do every day. I'll be remembering Jesus has forgiven me of all my sins, and I'll be telling as many people as I can about the love of God.
Do you have a Christmas dinner, Ken? Do you go for a Christmas...
Turn to Jesus. Now, Ash, I want to say something to you, Ash, in love and concern. You believe in Judaism. I want to remind you that Judaism is totally anti-Christ, anti-Bible, anti-Christian. You are totally opposed to what I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
So this is the truth about your religion, and I would like to hear you explain to the listeners what you believe. You're always critical of others.
I don't really. I'm not sure. I'm a bit agnostic. You know, I don't know, man. I might just wait and see.
You go to Friday meetings, Sabbath meetings, etc.
I don't. I come here, don't I? I do the show, Ken.
I would like to hear you take some courage and tell the people what you believe.
I've just told you, I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit of agnostic sort of thing. I like to...
I think it's important to bear in mind that whilst many people see Jewishness as two things, don't they? Both the tribe and the religion. It's fair to say you're more of the tribe than the religion.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not really that rabbinical. I know I'm not sort of...
Ash, I've told you for years that Jesus loves you. He's concerned about you. He loves Andre. He loves everyone. You have been warned for 29 years about Jesus, Ash, in love and concern, not judgment. You are on the highway to hell, Ash, because you're in total rebellion against Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the King of Israel. He loves you, Ash. If you continue this...
Well, he didn't love me enough, does he?
You are in big trouble, Ash. I'm saying that.
Well, he didn't love me very much,
you, my friend. I'm concerned
But how can someone love you, but if you don't agree with him, then you go to hell?
No,
that's not very loving.
Forgiveness. If you refuse his forgiveness...
I don't refuse it. He can forgive me.
We're all sinful. He offers us forgiveness and he wants to set us free and save our souls from hell.
All right, well, look, I'll think about it, Ken. Thanks for joining us. We've got to take a little break here. I'm keeping your freedom of speech. Don't worry, call us tomorrow, 03444991000.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, yes. We're back.
Okay, this is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. I'm sorry that story was not broadcastable, but just to finish, Asher, when the guys came back for the video, he used to deny he knew anything about it, and then go, if you're unhappy, phone the police.
And this is interesting. Killer whales go hunting with dolphins, study finds. And they've come together, and there's these giant fish, these salmon, they're called Chinook salmon. They're too big for dolphins to eat whole, so the killer whales, the orcas and the dolphins, were observed working together. So they've got better sonar, the dolphins, and in return the killer whales would protect them from the other predators, and then the killer whales would eat all the fish, and then they'd get the chunks of the fish. And they're saying this is amazing that they work together, these dolphins and killer whales working together in harmony.
My favourite story is that the whales now are attacking people in the Straits of Gibraltar. They're attacking boats, aren't they?
Well, I've heard that, because people used to go, orcas, oh, look, they're all right. But, you know, they're called killer whales for a reason. Do you know what I mean? My
other favourite documentary that I watched this week, have you watched the American crocodiles of Turkey Bay?
No.
Right. In Florida, there's a nuclear power station called Turkey Bay, and what it's got is when it pumps out, so it pumps in and out seawater.
Yeah.
Right. Now, just to be clear, this is not being used in the nuclear process. It's just cooling down the reactor.
It's warm water that comes out, isn't it? Yeah.
So basically, if you imagine the way they've dug these channels in the ground, they're like a radiator. So it comes out hot and it just goes backwards and forwards, flipping around itself, looking a bit like underfloor heating, if you've ever seen that. Anyway, American crocodiles have had terrible problems because everyone at Florida Keys is building on their habitat. So they've moved in, and because there's a security fence at Turkey Bay where no humans are allowed in, the crocodiles are having a lovely time.
Well, yeah, because they're a cold-blooded animal, so they need the heat to give them the energy. Absolutely. It's an education, this show, isn't it? Kevin in Basingstoke.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I was going to talk about green energy, but Ken made me phone in.
Yeah.
Go on.
You seem to have a problem with people in the House of Lords that support the LGBT community. What's wrong with showing support to people that live in our community?
Well, he says it's because he comes from a Christian point of view, doesn't he? He's a very Christian.
Yeah. So his attitude, I guess, would be don't hate gay people, but I think they should cease to be gay.
He also doesn't want euthanasia or abortion. It's all related to the Christianity, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm not Christian. I don't believe in God, so I could object to having anybody that's in the House of Lords just because they're, you know, head of the Church of England.
Well, yeah, the people do object to it, don't they?
Yeah,
and that's the freedom of speech.
Hang on,
that
means you're a disestablishmentarian.
Well, I mean, he said he's against abortion. Well,
yeah, he's an anti-disestablishmentarian.
Well, I mean, God flooded the earth, didn't he? And I suppose millions of people died, and that could have included pregnant women.
What? No. Yeah, and on that bombshell, 0344 499 1000. We might come back to Kevin. We didn't quite get that. 0344 499.
No, that was because somebody's texted in, slagging off the show.
We couldn't hear anything.
Right, let's read it. He says, what the F? Oh, my God. It's pointless to call in. Asher will talk over whoever calls and thinks he's witty with his clever comments. Oh, yes, then. Andre will decide he knows the direction of the conversation, scream and shout and keep saying the same thing until he's able to stop everything and pontificate his own knowledge. As a Catholic, I'm pleased to pontificate. Then end the call with the guy saying nasty things. Hasn't the talk gone downhill?
So that's why you're all listening. 0344 499 1000. If you want some more of that, me talking unwitty comments and him taking the direction, join us in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, some people have defended the show. Thank you so much to Sam and others. OK, let's go back to Kevin in Basingstoke. Kevin,
Right,
you're on Talk.
Take 2.
Oh, hello. I didn't know if you was going to come back or not. I have been hanging on.
Did you hear me in the break, by the way, saying we're coming back in a minute, Kev?
No.
All right.
Oh, so that button doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Right. Never
Okay.
mind, you're still here.
All right.
So what is it, man?
Well, yeah, I mean, he said that he's against abortion, but I mean, God.
Are you still driving? Are you the train driver?
No.
Oh.
So, I mean, you know, well, you've both got different views, and we sort of have freedom of speech. We don't really, do we? I mean, Keir Starmer respects freedom of speech, and if you disagree, he puts you in prison.
Hey, I heard something about freedom of speech today. And I was talking to a guy who worked with Graham Linehan on his case to defend him against the allegations of Islamophobia. Do you know the person that accused Graham Linehan has been to court or made criminal complaints on 20 separate occasions against people? None of them have ever been upheld, and the police continue to arrest the people that he or she, whatever they are. Whenever this person makes an allegation against somebody, the police always arrest them 20 times and still no convictions because the court just thinks it's complete garbage.
Well, yeah, but look what happened with Joey Barton.
Did you call me Pete?
Sorry?
Did you call me Pete?
No.
Do you want us to?
Oh, sorry. I must say my name's Kevin, but sorry, yeah. Well, can we talk about... and I know I probably haven't got long.
Whatever you want, Pete.
Green energy.
Yeah.
You said it's going to cost £500 per person, but that wasn't an independent report, and it was only one scenario.
Yeah, it'll be a lot more than that, won't it? When the AI, it's going to be a lot more.
Reports have said that it could be a lot less, or it could be, cheaper.
I saw today it can be double what it is at the moment, especially with AI sucking out all the electricity and us losing all our oil and gas.
Yeah, but that offshore wind in Scotland has made electricity a lot more cheaper. That's why they
What's amazing, but what's amazing though, every single time we invest in more green energy to cut the cost of our electricity, it rockets. Yeah. Right, so we get so many people on this show, and I'm not a green energy expert, neither's Asha, and they go, no, but green energy costs less because of this, that and the other. And you go, why is it that every country that has more green energy pays more?
And the more they've got, the more expensive it is. I mean, look at German industry. You can't have industry in this country or Germany. No one's going to set up a company. The car companies are on their arses in Germany. Well, that's why they've just got rid of the petrol ban. They're getting rid of that, scrapping it. They said by 2030, no, but they've scrapped that in the EU, and now we're the one lagging behind with the guy.
In the UK is set by the gas price, isn't it? That's why it's so high.
Well, it's a tax on it as well. It's a tax on the gas price. It's the taxes. We pay 5 times more than what they do in the States. So what does that tell you? We buy most of our gas from the States.
Well, I mean, green energy is subsidised. I think it's £25 billion a year.
But why are we paying for it? Well, that's why it's subsidised by our taxes, isn't it? We're the ones that pay it.
Well, fossil fuel energy is subsidised by 175
Yeah, but we're paying 5 times more than what they pay in the States. How can you compete? Well, you can't.
Well, yeah, because they don't tax it like we do. We tax it because we have an NHS over there. They don't. I mean, I think 50% of bankruptcies in America is because of unaffordable medical bills.
I'm sure that's right.
Yeah, well, you know, in times of Nelson, you know, income tax used to be 4%. That's what tax should be, not like over 50%.
Well, I mean, if you want a welfare state, you have to pay tax.
I don't want a welfare state. Don't want a welfare state.
It's not working, is it?
There are in America that are homeless.
The charities, there's plenty of charities that can look after those people.
Yeah, but they don't, do they? I mean,
well, that's because they're hypocrites, aren't they? They don't really
the number of people, the number of people who starve on the streets in America is tiny. In fact, non-existent, really. And the number of people who can get no medical treatment in America, people in Britain believe that if you've got no medical insurance in America, you will not be treated. That's simply not true.
But there are a lot of people living in their cars and in sewer systems. I mean, they do have, you know, it's not as good in that way.
No,
although is that bad? I mean, look at what our social housing now is basically they're taking the mick, aren't they?
Well, in America, they will. If you go to an A&E, you need life saving treatment. You can get. They will treat you.
Yeah.
They won't just let you die.
Yeah.
But if you can't afford medication, they won't. If you can't afford the treatment.
But here is the big problem, Kevin. As far as I'm concerned, pontificating again. You can either have an immigration system like Britain's, or you can have a welfare system like Britain's, but you can't have both. You can't have open borders and welfare for all. You've got to choose one or the other. Either you're going to have uncontrolled immigration or you're going to have unlimited welfare. But when you get both, all that happens is the situation that we have now, 60% of people that come in, 66% of people who come in to claim asylum in the UK never work, even if they get indefinite leave to remain or British citizenship, never work at all.
Well, we haven't got uncontrolled immigration, have we? Immigration.
Well, anyone who wants to come can come.
Immigration's down by 70%.
No. Net migration is down by 70%. What that means is a lot more British people are leaving the country, which mitigates the figure.
It's 250,000 a year now. Leaving.
Well, yeah, a lot of young people. I think 130,000 young people.
But that's our future, isn't it? That's well-educated. Well, apparently well-educated, maybe not so. And then we're bringing in people from the developing world.
You're replacing taxpayers. You're replacing taxpayers with people who are economically inactive. The experiment in Britain: can you pick up the least educated and poorest people of the world, stick them on benefits in Britain, and become richer? The answer is no.
Well, no, those young people are leaving is because they're well educated and they haven't got, they can't find a job, they can't afford to buy a house, they can't afford to buy have children, so they're going to countries where they can.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then we're getting the people who aren't going to make anything, and people
that come here are the students. And at one point, when we had more students, about 8 years ago, they brought in nearly £50 billion into the country.
A lot of the students, it's a ruse, isn't it, to just get and move here, get a visa, and they can bring all their family with them.
All we did with students is said that if you are an undergraduate, you're not allowed to bring your wife, children and grandchildren with you. I mean, how many undergraduates at Liverpool University bring their grandchildren with them?
Yeah, but that's been stopped. They can't bring
them. Well, exactly right. Exactly right. Anyway, Kevin, thank you so much. Kevin, we just have to move on. Not being funny. Mandy is in Cambridgeshire. Mandy, you're on talk.
Hi.
Hi, Mandy.
With those three previous callers, my word, they've been so controversial.
Yeah, man. Are you going to be controversial?
No. So basically, I want to know about the Freemasons with Andre.
Well, that's Andre's.
So mote it be.
Tell the truth.
So no, I won't be controversial. So basically, I want to know why they can't put up the stupid. They put up the stupid gem shields and the flag. I'm not gonna. They have been really bad.
Are you on hands-free, Mandy? Can't really. It's a bit muffly.
Yeah.
Can you pick up the?
Yeah, I can't really understand what you're saying, Mandy.
Yeah. So basically,
can you pick up the phone, Mandy? Can you pick up the phone, Mandy? Mandy, can you pick up the phone?
Have you got me?
No, that's better. Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no. So you've been so controversial. They frazzled my brain to the fact that I just wanted to go back to the electricity supply or a few other things, but you've got 7 minutes left, haven't you? So
yeah, it's plenty of time, Mandy. Relax, man. Just tell us what you want to say. What is it?
So basically, my electricity supply is costing me more sometimes in charges per day.
Yeah.
Than it is for electric.
The actual standing charge. Yeah.
Yeah. when I spoke to them, they basically said it was about infrastructure. I've written it all down, so I'm a bit menopausal and slightly drunk, as you can probably hear.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. And the infrastructure that takes something out to a mansion 60 miles in the middle of the country somewhere, I have to pay for, so they have their pipes.
Yeah,
I use the euphemism. So where do
So they're using your pipes to supply electricity to... Yes, you're right, Mandy.
Not only that, when they build new pipes, I'm having to pay for it.
You have been controversial, Mandy.
Although I will say, a lot of people, when they get new electricity supplies into, and it's quite a long way off the grid, will be asked to pay for it. Anyway, it's time for Yasmin, the teenage witch. Yasmin, how are you?
Hiya, darlings. You're both looking fabulous tonight.
You're looking fabulous. I can't see you, but I'm sure you're looking fabulous too.
Thank you, darling. I just want to talk about Yule. People call it Christmas, Xmas.
Yule, Yule.
Yeah.
Yule Brynner.
I feel as though for people who are living
Yuli Gagarin.
People who are living on their own, just realise it is only 3 days, and
just batten down the hatches.
But in reality, Yasmin, the level of suicide as a result of loneliness goes down over Christmas because of the number of people who do knock on their neighbours' doors. So that does work, by the way.
That is brilliant if that's true. That's brilliant. But
Andre will be on every night. No, that'll make them worse. They will.
The other thing
I'm not. No, I always take Christmas off for the, equal opportunities religion. Yeah, but Jesus was Jewish, wasn't he? What are you doing on Christmas Day, Yaz?
I'm having a big curry.
Yeah.
And
turkey curry or what? A turkey biryani?
No. I'll be having beef vindaloo. I'll be having a dal. I'll be having Bombay potatoes with spinach.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, man.
And naan bread.
We're all coming to your house. Do you get the nice... Because now, you get the nice naan breads. You get the ones in the supermarkets that that aren't proper. But you get but you get proper naan breads now in packets that are really proper.
Have you seen those ones that you get in Tesco that have got the green packet?
No, but I don't like the... But the thing is, you fry them in a pan. Use ghee if you can, or butter, and actually fry it in a pan. It's the closest you're going to get to a tandoor, but they are half tandoored anyway.
Yeah, but I make my own with yoghurt and everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're from that culture. Part of you is from that culture, isn't it? I bet it's delicious.
There's one thing I want to say about something that I've been interested in. You know, like, we've got a lot of vets on the street, veterans.
Yeah. Really? You should think vets would make a lot of money.
Rented the migrant hotels. Why can't the homeless veterans go in them?
They're never going to do that.
Not allowed.
Also,
disgraceful.
The other thing is, you know, like, they've had problems in the prison service. Why don't they get the vets to go in and do it military style?
Well, they should be allowed to join the police like we used to have them in the police. They're the best people for the police.
And also, if they put migrants in detention centres, why don't they have the veterans doing it military style there?
So what we could do is have a much larger military and do more with the retired servicemen. That's exactly what we should do.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently no one's joining the army anymore. I mean, why would you?
The other thing is, these two men that have raped that young girl who was 4